The champagne glass trembled in Ava Brooks' hand as she watched her cousin's perfect wedding unfold around her. 28 years old, gorgeous in an emerald dress that cost 3 paychecks, and completely invisible. She'd mastered the art of blending into expensive wallpaper until her 5-year-old daughter Zoe's laughter cut through the classical music. Ava's chest tightened. One more hour. Just survive one more hour of pitying glances and whispered questions about Zoe's absent father. Then a shadow fell across her table, and a voice she recognized from boardroom nightmares said, "Mind if I sit?" Cole Whitmore, her CEO. "Here. Want to see how this story unfolds? Stay until the end, hit that like button, and comment what city you're watching from so I can see how far this story travels." The wedding reception sparkled with the kind of money Ava Brooks had learned to recognize from a distance. Crystal chandeliers worth more than her annual salary. Centerpieces that cost what she paid in rent. White tablecloths so pristine they seemed to glow under the warm lighting of the ballroom at the Ashford estate, where her cousin Melissa was marrying into old money with the kind of confidence that came from never having to check your bank account before buying groceries. Ava sat at table 12. Not quite family, not quite friend, somewhere in that uncomfortable middle ground reserved for relatives who'd taken different paths. Her emerald dress was beautiful, she knew that much. She'd seen the way heads turned when she walked in, the way conversations paused. At 5'7", with warm brown skin, natural curls swept into an elegant updo, and curves that the silk fabric celebrated rather than hid, Ava Brooks was striking. She'd inherited her mother's high cheekbones and her father's expressive dark eyes, and she'd learned early that beauty was both gift and curse depending on who was looking. Tonight, mostly curse. Because beautiful and broke was still broke, beautiful and single was still single, and beautiful with a 5-year-old daughter and no ring was still the subject of whispered speculation at family weddings. Ava took another sip of champagne, her second glass, which was one more than she'd planned, and watched Zoe spin across the dance floor with the other flower girls. Her daughter wore pale pink tulle and white Mary Janes, her dark braids adorned with baby's breath that was already coming loose. She was laughing, completely carefree, protected by the bubble of childhood from understanding why Grandma had pulled Ava aside earlier to ask, in that particular tone, "So, anyone special in your life yet, dear?" Translation: When are you going to stop embarrassing us by being a competent, accomplished single mother? Ava's phone buzzed. She glanced down. Babysitter. "Hey, really sorry, but I have to cancel tomorrow. Family emergency." Perfect. Just perfect. Ava had already rearranged her entire week to make this wedding work, had called in favors to cover Saturday morning meetings, had spent money she shouldn't have on this dress and these shoes and the hotel room she'd booked 40 minutes away because anything closer was triple the price. She was composing a response when the shadow fell across her table. "Mind if I sit?" Ava's head snapped up so fast her neck cracked. Cole Whitmore stood beside the empty chair to her left, one hand resting casually in the pocket of what had to be a custom-tailored charcoal suit. 6'2", early 30s, with the kind of angular features and piercing blue eyes that belonged on billboards. His dark hair was styled in that effortlessly perfect way that probably took 20 minutes and cost more than her car payment. He was white, wealthy, and the CEO of Ashford Crane Publishing, the company where Ava had worked for 6 years, climbing from editorial assistant to senior acquisitions editor through sheer competence and stubbornness. They'd spoken exactly 3 times, twice in elevators, once at a company-wide meeting where she'd presented a book proposal he'd approved with a nod. "Mr. Whitmore," Ava said, recovering. "I didn't realize you were... are you here for..." "Melissa's my cousin," Cole said, pulling out the chair. "Second cousin. Technically, my mother's side. And it's Cole. We're not in the office." He sat before she could fully process that information. Cole Whitmore, her CEO, at her cousin's wedding. Sitting at her table like this was completely normal. "Ava Brooks," she said, because her brain had apparently stopped working. "I'm also Melissa's cousin. Third cousin. I honestly lose track after second." The family tree gets complicated," Cole agreed. His voice was different outside the boardroom, warmer, less formal. "I saw you earlier during the ceremony. You were in the 4th row, right side. You looked like you were analyzing the floral arrangements." Ava blinked. "You noticed that?" You had that expression you get when you're reading a manuscript you're not quite sold on yet. Interested, but skeptical. Cole picked up the menu card at his place setting, glanced at it, set it down. The arrangements are nice, but the color palette is playing it safe. Melissa wanted jewel tones originally, purple and deep red. But apparently that was too bold for a spring wedding. You know a lot about wedding planning. I know a lot about Melissa talking at me for 6 months. His mouth curved into something almost like a smile. She's persistent. Runs in the family. This earned her a genuine smile, brief but real. I've noticed. You brought in the Daniels series last quarter. That was persistent. Ava's heart did something complicated in her chest. The Daniels series, a 5-book urban fantasy saga by a debut author, everyone else had passed on. Ava had championed it through 3 rounds of editorial meetings, fought for a decent advance, and personally edited the first manuscript until it shined. The first book had released 2 months ago and was quietly building momentum. You know about that? She asked carefully. I read the reports. Cole's gaze was direct, intense, in a way that made her want to look away and hold eye contact simultaneously. I also read the book. You were right about it. Strong world building, authentic voice, commercial appeal without sacrificing depth. Good instincts. Ava had received exactly 0 feedback on the Daniels acquisition from anyone above her direct supervisor. She'd assumed the executive level didn't notice individual projects unless they became massive bestsellers or spectacular failures. Thank you, she said, meaning it. That means AVA! Zoe came running over, tulle flying, braids bouncing, face flushed with excitement. She crashed into Ava's legs with the full-body enthusiasm unique to 5-year-olds. Mama, did you see me dancing? I did a spin and Emma said it was the best spin, and we're going to do a group dance later, and... Zoe stopped, noticing Cole for the first time. Her eyes went wide. You're very tall. Zoe, Ava said, this is Mr. Whitmore. He's a friend of Cousin Melissa's. Can you say hello? Hello, Zoe said solemnly, then immediately pivoted back to urgent 5-year-old concerns. Mama, I'm thirsty. Can I have juice? Ava glanced around for a server, but Cole was already standing, smoothly catching the attention of a passing waiter. Excuse me, he said with easy authority. Could we get some juice for the young lady? Apple or orange? Apple, Zoe declared. Apple juice, please. And maybe some of those cheese cubes from the appetizer station if you have any left. The waiter nodded and disappeared. Zoe stared up at Cole with newfound respect. You're good at that, she announced. Getting stuff. Cole's expression softened in a way Ava had never seen in the office. I have practice. My sister has twins. They're 6 now, but they've been training me since birth. Twins? Zoe's eyes went even wider. Like 2 of the same person? Exactly like that. Boys. Very loud boys. I'm loud too sometimes, Zoe confided. Mama says I have an indoor voice and an outdoor voice, but sometimes I forget which is which. That's a common problem, Cole said seriously. The twins have the same issue. Ava watched this exchange with growing surrealism. Cole Whitmore, the man who ran a multi-million-dollar publishing house, who sat in a corner office on the 42nd floor, who had a reputation for being brilliant and demanding and completely unreadable, was having a genuine conversation with her kindergartner about volume control. The waiter returned with juice in a plastic cup and a small plate of cheese cubes. Zoe accepted both with a delighted "thank you" that made Ava's heart squeeze with pride, then looked up at her mother with big, hopeful eyes. Can I go back to Emma now? Yes, but stay where I can see you. And Zoe? Ava caught her daughter's hand. What do we say to Mr. Whitmore? Thank you for the juice and cheese, Zoe beamed at Cole, then darted back toward the dance floor at full speed. Ava watched until she rejoined the cluster of flower girls, then turned back to Cole, who was settling into his chair again. You didn't have to do that, she said. It was juice and cheese cubes, hardly a grand gesture. Still, Ava hesitated. She's usually shy around strangers. You're good with kids. Like I said, practice. Cole's gaze drifted to where Zoe was now attempting to teach the other girls some kind of elaborate hand-clapping game. She looks like you. Same eyes, same smile. It was such a normal observation, said in such a normal tone, that it took Ava a moment to recognize it as a compliment. Not the kind of loaded comment she usually got from men who noticed she had a daughter. No surprise about her age, no fishing for information about a father, no subtle judgment about single motherhood. Just an observation, simple and kind. "Thank you," Ava said quietly. The band shifted into something slow and romantic. Around them, couples began moving toward the dance floor. Ava checked her phone again, still no response from her backup babysitter, and felt the familiar weight of logistics settling over her shoulders. Tomorrow's meeting was important. She couldn't miss it. But she also couldn't bring Zoe to the office on a Sunday, and she was running out of options. "Everything okay?" Cole asked. "What? Oh, yes, just scheduling issues." Ava forced a smile. "Nothing urgent." She was a terrible liar. Cole's expression suggested he knew it. But before he could press, Melissa appeared in a cloud of white lace and expensive perfume, looking radiant and slightly tipsy. "Ava! Cole! Oh my God! You two found each other!" She leaned heavily on the table, her veil listing to one side. "Isn't this perfect? I told Mom we should seat you together. I said, Ava's brilliant and Cole's brilliant, and they work at the same company. They'll have tons to talk about." "Melissa," Ava said carefully, "are you—" "I'm married," Melissa announced to no one in particular. "Can you believe it? Mrs. Harrison Lockwood III. I have to practice saying it. Mrs. Harrison—" She dissolved into giggles. Cole caught the champagne flute before it tipped out of her hand. "Congratulations, again. You mentioned it earlier, several times." "Because it's important, Cole. Love is important. Speaking of which," Melissa fixed Ava with an intense, slightly unfocused stare. "You look gorgeous tonight. That dress is stunning. You should dance. Both of you should dance. Together." "Melissa," Ava said, feeling heat creep up her neck. "I don't think—" "It's my wedding," Melissa declared with the ironclad logic of the happily intoxicated. "And I want all my favorite people to be happy. So dance now. That's a bride order." She swept away toward another table, trailing lace and determination. Ava closed her eyes. "I'm so sorry." "For what?" "For that. She means well, but she's had a lot of champagne and she gets these ideas." "Ava," Cole's voice was gentle. "It's fine. But if you want to escape the bride's matchmaking, we could actually dance. Safer than sitting here waiting for her to come back with reinforcements." Ava opened her eyes. Cole was standing, offering his hand, expression carefully neutral. It was just a dance. At a wedding. Completely normal. Except nothing about this felt normal. "Okay," Ava heard herself say. "One dance." Cole's hand was warm and steady as she took it. He led her to the dance floor with the easy confidence of someone who'd attended 1,000 events like this. The band was playing something classic and slow. Sinatra, maybe, or someone from that era. Around them, couples swayed in the soft light. Cole's hand settled at her waist, maintaining a respectful distance. Ava's hand found his shoulder. They began to move. "You're a good dancer," Ava said after a moment. "Boarding school requirement, cotillion, very traumatic." That surprised a laugh out of her. "Traumatic?" "I was 12 and convinced dancing was a form of torture designed specifically for awkward preteens." Cole spun her gently. "I've since revised my opinion." They moved in silence for a few beats. Ava was acutely aware of how well they fit together, how easy it was to follow his lead. She could feel the warmth of his hand through the silk of her dress, could smell his cologne, something subtle and expensive. "Can I ask you something?" Cole said. Ava's shoulders tensed reflexively. "Here it comes. The questions." "Sure." "The Daniel series, you fought hard for it. I saw the meeting notes. Your supervisor pushed back on the advance 3 times. What made you so sure it was worth it?" That was not what she'd expected. Ava looked up at him, searching his face for hidden motives. But he just looked curious, genuinely interested. "The voice," she said finally. The author's voice was authentic, raw. She wasn't trying to write what she thought would sell. She was writing the story she needed to tell. And the protagonist, Kira, she was complicated, flawed, not a chosen one or a special snowflake, just a young woman trying to survive in a world that didn't make space for her. Ava paused. I guess I related to that. Cole's hand tightened slightly at her waist. I'm glad you didn't give up on it. Me too. And I'm sorry your supervisor didn't back you up from the start. You shouldn't have had to fight that hard for something that good. There was something in his tone, an edge that made Ava wonder if this was more than casual conversation. But before she could analyze it, there was a commotion near the dessert table. Zoe's voice, high and distressed. Mama! Ava broke away from Cole immediately, crossing the dance floor at speed. Zoe stood near the chocolate fountain, her beautiful pink dress now splattered with dark brown stains. Emma stood next to her looking guilty. A server hovered nearby with napkins. Oh, baby, Ava breathed, kneeling down. What happened? Emma dared me to see how close I could get to the chocolate fountain, and I tripped, and it got on my dress, and I'm sorry, Mama. I'm so sorry. Zoe's eyes filled with tears. I ruined it. Hey, no, you didn't ruin anything. Ava grabbed napkins from the server, trying to dab at the stains, but the chocolate was already setting into the fabric. It's okay. It's just a dress. But it's pretty, and now it's ruined, and... Excuse me. Cole appeared beside them, holding what looked like a white dinner napkin and a glass of club soda. He crouched down until he was eye level with Zoe. I know a magic trick, he said in a conspiratorial whisper. Want to see? Zoe sniffled, nodded. Cole dipped the napkin in the club soda, then gently dabbed at one of the chocolate stains. The trick is, you have to tell the chocolate it's not wanted anymore, very firmly, like this. Chocolate, you don't belong on this dress. Please leave. Zoe giggled wetly. That's silly. Maybe, but look. Cole held up the napkin, which had absorbed most of the stain. It's working. The chocolate is listening. Want to try? He handed Zoe a fresh napkin and the glass. She carefully dampened the cloth, then very seriously addressed the remaining stains. Chocolate, you don't belong here. Go away. More giggles from the gathered flower girls. Cole helped Zoe work on the spots, keeping up a steady stream of gentle banter that slowly transformed her tears into laughter. Within 5 minutes, the dress wasn't perfect, but it was significantly better. More importantly, Zoe was smiling again. Thank you, she said to Cole, suddenly shy. Anytime. And hey, even fancy dresses get dirty sometimes. That's how you know you had fun. Zoe considered this wisdom, then nodded seriously. Okay. I'm going to go tell Emma it's okay now. She ran off. Ava stood slowly, aware that she was staring at Cole with an expression she couldn't quite control. That was... she started. Basic damage control, Cole said. The twins destroy clothes at an impressive rate. You learned a triage. That was kind, Ava corrected firmly. Thank you. Their eyes met, held. Something shifted in the air between them, subtle but undeniable. Ava's phone buzzed insistently. She glanced down, and her stomach dropped. Backup babysitter. Sorry, Ava. I've been called into work tonight. Can't do tomorrow. Hope you find someone. No. Ava's mind raced through options. Her mother was out of town. Her best friend had her own kids. The usual neighborhood teenager was at college orientation. She was 40 minutes from home with a 5-year-old, no childcare for tomorrow, and a meeting she absolutely could not miss. Problem? Cole asked quietly. Ava looked up, debating how much to share. But the concern in his expression was genuine, and she was running out of pride. My babysitter canceled, and my backup just canceled. I have Zoe here, it's late, and I need coverage for tomorrow morning. She gestured helplessly, trying to figure out logistics. Cole was quiet for a moment. Where are you staying tonight? The Riverside Inn, about 40 minutes north. That's a long drive this late, especially with a tired 5-year-old. I know, but everything closer was booked or way out of my budget. I have a suite here at the estate, Cole said carefully. 2 bedrooms, completely separate. I booked it because my mother insisted, but I was planning to head back to the city tonight anyway. You and Zoe could stay there, safe, close, and you wouldn't have to worry about the drive. Ava's first instinct was to refuse. Accept a hotel room from her CEO? That crossed about 15 professional lines. But then she looked at Zoe, now yawning widely as she leaned against Emma's mother. Looked at the clock, 9:47 p.m. Thought about the dark highway, the exhausted kindergartner, the early meeting tomorrow. Thought about Cole kneeling in his expensive suit to fix a chocolate stain with club soda and kindness. I can't accept that, Ava said, but her voice lacked conviction. Why not? Because you're my boss, because it's too much, because it makes you uncomfortable to accept help, Cole said gently. I understand, but consider it from a purely practical standpoint. I'm not using the room. You need a safe place to stay. Zoe needs sleep. This solves a problem with resources that would otherwise go to waste. When you put it like that, you make me sound stupid for refusing. I make you sound like someone who's had to be self-sufficient for a long time and isn't used to accepting offers without suspicion. Cole's gaze was steady, which I respect, but sometimes the practical choice is just the practical choice. No strings, no expectations, just a hotel room. Ava studied his face, looking for angles, for hidden motives, found only patience. Okay, she said finally. Okay, thank you. I'll pay you back. It's already paid for. You'd actually be doing me a favor. Otherwise, my mother will give me hell about wasting money on an empty suite. Despite everything, Ava smiled. Moms are good at that. Universal constant. They collected Zoe, who was now half asleep on her feet. Cole spoke briefly with the hotel coordinator, arranging for keys. Then they were walking through the elegant hallways of the Ashford estate, Zoe holding Ava's hand and yawning. The suite was on the 3rd floor, a sprawling space with a living area, 2 separate bedrooms, and a bathroom larger than Ava's kitchen. Everything was decorated in soft creams and golds, fresh flowers on the coffee table, a view of the gardens through tall windows. This is beautiful, Ava breathed. Melissa spared no expense. Cole set the key cards on the entry table. Bedroom on the left has a king bed. Bedroom on the right has 2 twins. Bathroom is stocked. There's a mini fridge with water and juice. Help yourself to anything. Zoe had already wandered into the right bedroom, captivated by the enormous flat-screen TV on the wall. Cole, Ava said quietly, I don't know how to thank you. You don't need to. He moved toward the door, then paused. Get some sleep. And Ava? About tomorrow's meeting, I moved it to Monday. Sent the email an hour ago. So you don't need to rush back. Ava blinked. You? What? It was a Sunday meeting scheduled during a holiday weekend. Bad planning on my part. Monday makes more sense. He was lying. Ava could tell he was lying. He'd moved the meeting because he'd somehow figured out she was in a bind. Thank you, she whispered. Cole nodded once, then left, closing the door softly behind him. Ava stood in the beautiful suite, holding expensive key cards, feeling the weight of the evening settle over her shoulders like a blanket. Cole Whitmore had just shown her more consideration in 4 hours than she'd received from most people in 4 years, and she had absolutely no idea what to do with that information. The rest of the wedding passed in a blur of dancing, dessert, and sparklers. Ava stayed at the reception until Zoe was completely exhausted, then carried her daughter back to the suite and tucked her into one of the twin beds. Zoe was asleep before Ava finished removing her shoes. Ava changed into the pajamas she'd packed in her emergency overnight bag, soft cotton shorts and a worn Stanford t-shirt from her college days, and sat on the edge of the king bed in the other room. She should sleep. It was past midnight. She was exhausted. Instead, she found herself replaying the evening, Cole's observations about the floral arrangements, his genuine interest in the Daniels series, the way he'd handled Zoe's chocolate crisis without making her feel stupid or burdensome, his casual mention of moving tomorrow's meeting. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Unknown. It's Cole. Got your number from the company directory. Hope that's not too forward. Just wanted to make sure you and Zoe got settled okay. Ava stared at the message, her heart doing complicated things again. Ava. We're fine. Zoe's already asleep. This suite is amazing. Thank you again. Cole. Good. And you're welcome. Get some rest. She should leave it there. Professional? Appropriate? Ava. Can I ask you something? Cole. Always. Ava. Why did you really move the meeting? The 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally. Cole. Because you looked stressed about something, and I figured if I could solve one problem, I should. Is that okay? Ava lay back against the pillows, phone held above her face, trying to parse the meaning behind those words. Ava, it's okay. It's just unexpected. Cole, in a bad way? Ava, in a confusing way. Cole, fair enough. Sleep well, Ava. She set the phone on the nightstand and closed her eyes, but sleep didn't come easily. Her mind kept circling back to Cole's hand at her waist on the dance floor, his voice telling Chocolate to leave Zoe's dress, the way he'd looked at her when he said he'd read the book she'd fought for. Ava Brooks had built her life on clear boundaries and careful planning. She knew how to handle difficult authors and impossible deadlines and 5-year-old meltdowns at grocery stores. She knew how to budget down to the last dollar, how to negotiate contracts, how to show up every day and do excellent work even when people overlooked her. What she didn't know how to handle was Cole Whitmore looking at her like she mattered, like she was more than just another employee, like he saw her, really saw her, and liked what he found. It should have felt threatening, inappropriate. Crossing professional lines, instead it felt like the first warm day after a long, brutal winter. And that scared her more than anything. But Sunday morning arrived with golden sunlight streaming through the suite's windows. Ava woke to find Zoe already awake, sitting in the living area watching cartoons at a considerate volume, still in her pajamas. "Morning, baby," Ava said, patting into the room. "Mama, they have good cartoons here, and I found orange juice in the tiny fridge." "Did you open it yourself?" "No, I waited for you because that's the rule." "Good girl." Ava retrieved the juice, poured it into one of the provided glasses. "What do you want for breakfast?" "Can we have room service?" Zoe's eyes were huge and hopeful. "Like in movies?" Ava hesitated. Room service at a place like this would cost more than she wanted to spend, but it was a special occasion, and Zoe so rarely asked for things. "Okay," she decided. "But we share. Deal?" "Deal." They ordered pancakes and fruit, which arrived on a rolling cart with actual silver covers over the plates. Zoe was delighted. They ate breakfast in their pajamas, watching cartoons, and for a brief moment, Ava let herself pretend this was normal, that she was the kind of person who stayed in luxury suites and ordered room service without calculating the tip 3 times. Her phone rang just as they were finishing. Unknown number. "Hello?" "Good morning," Cole's voice, warm and alert. "I hope I'm not calling too early." "We're up. Zoe's an early riser." "The twins, too. Some kind of conspiracy." A pause. "I'm downstairs in the main lobby. I was heading back to the city and wanted to check if you and Zoe needed a ride. Save you the drive." Ava's instinct was to refuse. But then she thought about loading Zoe into her 12-year-old Honda with the temperamental air conditioning and driving 40 minutes in Sunday traffic. "Are you sure?" she asked. "We're probably not on your way." "I'm sure. And you are on my way. I go right past your area." Another lie. Ava lived in a modest neighborhood in Queens. Cole almost certainly lived somewhere in Manhattan with a doorman and a view. "Okay," she said. "Give us 20 minutes to get ready." "Take your time. I'll be here." They dressed quickly, Zoe back in her regular clothes, Ava in dark jeans and a simple white blouse. She packed up their things, made sure the suite was tidy, then took Zoe's hand and headed downstairs. Cole waited in the lobby, looking impossibly put together in dark jeans and a gray Henley. Casual clothes that probably cost more than Ava's entire outfit, but wore like he'd thrown them on without thinking. "Ready?" he asked. "Ready. Say thank you to Mr. Whitmore, Zoe." "Thank you for the room," Zoe said brightly, "and for fixing my dress yesterday. The chocolate listened to you." Cole's expression softened. The chocolate was very well behaved. "And you're welcome." His car was parked in the curved driveway, a sleek black Tesla, that made Ava's Honda look like a relic from another century. But Cole loaded their small bag into the trunk without fanfare and held the back door open for Zoe to climb in. "There's a booster seat," he said, pointing. "My sister leaves one here for the twins. It should fit." Because of course he had a proper booster seat, because Cole Whitmore apparently thought of everything. The drive back to the city was surprisingly comfortable. Cole played music from a kid-friendly playlist, Disney songs, apparently a twin-approved selection, and Zoe sang along unselfconsciously from the back seat. Ava sat in the passenger seat watching the landscape blur past, trying not to think about how normal this felt, how easy, how dangerous. "You're quiet," Cole observed during a lull in the music. Just tired. It was a late night. Was the wedding what you expected? Ava laughed softly. I'm not sure what I expected. Family events are always complicated. The pitying looks about being single? She turned to stare at him. How did you? I'm observant, and I've been to enough family weddings to recognize the pattern. Someone asks if you're seeing anyone. Someone else comments on how you'd make a beautiful bride. Someone inevitably mentions your biological clock. All three, Ava admitted, within the first hour. People are predictable and intrusive. You get it too? Different version, same concept. When are you settling down? Don't you want kids? You're not getting any younger, Cole. He merged smoothly into highway traffic. Like our worth is measured by relationship status instead of, I don't know, literally anything else we've accomplished. Ava had never heard anyone articulate this particular frustration so perfectly. Exactly. I've built a career. I'm raising a wonderful daughter. I own my home. But somehow the fact that I don't have a husband makes me incomplete in their eyes. Their eyes are wrong. Simple. Direct. Said with complete conviction. Ava felt something warm unfurl in her chest. They drove in comfortable silence for a while. Zoe had fallen asleep in the back, lulled by the smooth ride. Ava watched her daughter's peaceful face in the rear-view mirror and felt the familiar surge of fierce protectiveness. Can I ask you something personal? Cole said quietly. Ava tensed reflexively. Okay. Zoe's father. Is he in the picture? And there it was. The question everyone asked eventually, in one form or another. No, Ava said flatly. He hasn't been since I told him I was pregnant, made it very clear he wanted no part of parenthood, signed away his rights, sends checks twice a year that I put directly into Zoe's college fund without touching them. I'm sorry. Don't be. We're better off without someone who doesn't want to be there. Ava kept her gaze fixed forward. Zoe doesn't ask about him much anymore. She has my parents, my sister, my friends. She has enough love. We don't need someone who sees her as a burden. She's lucky to have you. I'm lucky to have her. Ava glanced back at her sleeping daughter. She saved me, honestly. I was 23, just out of grad school, working an entry-level job and barely making rent. When I found out I was pregnant, I thought my life was over. But Zoe gave me purpose, made me fight harder, work smarter, stop accepting less than I deserved. That's why you pushed for the Daniels series. It wasn't a question. Ava looked at Cole, surprised by his insight. Yeah, she admitted. The protagonist, Kira, she's a single mom. Young, struggling, written off by everyone around her. But she's so strong, so capable. The author got it right. The exhaustion and the joy and the constant calculation of whether you can afford both groceries and gas. I wanted that story in the world, for readers like me. Cole nodded slowly. You should be heading your own imprint, making those calls without having to fight for approval. Ava laughed bitterly. Maybe in another decade, after I've paid my dues and networked properly, and what if it didn't take a decade? Something in his tone made Ava look at him sharply. What do you mean? But Cole's expression had gone carefully neutral. Just thinking out loud. Here, what's your address? Ava gave him her street number, still puzzling over his comment. They pulled up in front of her building 15 minutes later, a modest 3-story walk-up in a quiet neighborhood with a small playground across the street. Not fancy, but clean and safe and hers. Cole came around to help with the bag and to lift Zoe carefully out of the booster seat. The little girl stirred but didn't wake, just nestled into Ava's arms with a sleepy mumble. Thank you, Ava said quietly. For all of it. The room, the ride, everything. It was my pleasure. Cole held her gaze. Really. Ava should leave it there, should take Zoe upstairs, close the door, go back to her normal life. Instead, she heard herself say, Do you want to come up for coffee as a thank you? The words hung in the spring air between them. Cole studied her face, and Ava had the unsettling sense that he was seeing straight through her careful defenses to the confusion and curiosity underneath. I'd like that, he said finally. But maybe another time, when it's not just gratitude. Ava blinked. I don't... Ava. Her name in his voice was gentle. I helped you because I wanted to, not to create obligation. If you want to have coffee with me, I'm interested, very interested. But I want you to ask because you want to spend time with me, not because you think you owe me something. Fair? Heat flooded Ava's face. Because he was right. Part of her invitation had been obligation, but only part. Fair, she whispered. Cole smiled, that rare genuine smile that transformed his whole face. Good. I'll see you Monday then. Monday. Right. He walked back to his car, raised a hand in farewell, and drove away. Ava stood on the sidewalk, holding her sleeping daughter, watching until the Tesla disappeared around the corner. Then she carried Zoe upstairs to their modest apartment, put her down for a proper nap, and sat on her worn couch staring at nothing. Cole Whitmore had just turned down her invitation, because he wanted to make sure she was asking for the right reasons, because he was considerate and thoughtful and apparently incapable of being anything less than decent. Ava pulled out her phone, found his contact, typed and deleted 3 different messages before settling on, Ava, thank you for being respectful. I appreciate it. Cole, always. See you Monday. She set the phone aside and closed her eyes. Monday suddenly felt very far away. Monday morning arrived with the kind of nervous energy that made Ava check her outfit 3 times before leaving the apartment. She'd chosen a navy blazer over a cream blouse, tailored pants, and her most professional heels, the ones that made her feet ache but gave her an extra 2 inches of confidence. Zoe had been dropped at kindergarten with extra hugs and promises of pizza for dinner, and now Ava stood in the elevator of Ashford Crane Publishing, watching the floor numbers climb toward the editorial department on the 37th floor. She felt ridiculous. It was just another Monday. Cole was just her CEO. The weekend had been a series of kind gestures, nothing more. She needed to get her head back in the game and stop replaying the way he'd looked at her when he said, very interested. The elevator doors opened and Ava stepped into the familiar chaos of the editorial floor. Assistants rushed past with manuscript boxes. Phones rang in a discordant symphony. The smell of burnt coffee and printer toner hung in the air like incense. Ava, there you are. Marcus Chen, her fellow senior editor, appeared at her elbow with a stack of contracts. How was the wedding? Did you survive the family interrogation? Barely, Ava said, accepting her usual Monday morning coffee from the break room. How was your weekend? Quiet. Finished 3 manuscripts, cleaned my apartment, considered getting a cat. Marcus grinned. So, living the dream. Oh, and apparently there's a big meeting this afternoon. Leadership team. No idea what it's about, but Ethan's been locked in his office all morning looking stressed. Ethan Cross, Ava's direct supervisor and the senior vice president of acquisitions. A man in his mid-40s with a tendency to take credit for his team's successes and deflect blame for failures. Ava had learned to navigate his management style over the years, document everything, never complain, and accept that recognition would always come filtered through his ego. Probably just quarterly reviews, Ava said, though something in her stomach tightened with unease. She settled into her cubicle and opened her laptop, diving into the comforting routine of emails and manuscript evaluations. The Daniels series needed a marketing strategy review. A debut thriller required developmental notes. An agented submission sat in her queue waiting for a first read. Normal. Manageable. Under control. Her phone buzzed with a text. Cole. Good morning. How's your Monday so far? Ava stared at the message, acutely aware of Marcus working 1 cubicle over and the open floor plan that made privacy impossible. Ava. Busy. Yours? Cole. Same. Fair warning, there's a leadership meeting at 2 p.m. You'll be there. Ava. Me? I'm not leadership. Cole. You are as of today. Check your email. Ava's heart stuttered. She switched to her email, refreshing frantically until a new message appeared from Human Resources. Subject, position change notification. Her hand shook as she opened it. Dear Ms. Brooks, effective immediately, you have been promoted to executive editor with expanded acquisition authority and direct report to the VP of editorial strategy. Compensation details and new responsibilities are outlined in the attached documentation. Please confirm receipt. Congratulations on this well-deserved advancement. Ava read it twice, then a third time. Executive editor, expanded authority, direct report to VP level, which meant bypassing Ethan entirely. Oh my God, she whispered. What? Marcus rolled his chair over. You okay? You look like you've seen a ghost. I just. I got promoted. What? Ava, that's amazing. To what? Executive editor. The title felt foreign in her mouth. I didn't apply for this. There wasn't a posting. Marcus's expression shifted from excitement to something more complicated. Wait, executive editor? That's the same level as Ethan. You're jumping 2 levels. How did... He stopped, lowering his voice. Did Whitmore do this? I don't know, maybe. I mean, he mentioned something at the wedding about... Ava caught herself. We ran into each other at my cousin's wedding. We talked about my work. But I didn't ask for this, Marcus, I swear. I believe you. Marcus squeezed her shoulder. And for what it's worth, you deserve it. You've been carrying this department for years while Ethan takes the credit. Everyone knows it. Maybe Whitmore finally noticed. Maybe. Or maybe this was connected to their conversation in the car yesterday. Cole asking about her career, making that cryptic comment about not waiting a decade. Ava's phone buzzed again. Cole, breathe. You earned this. See you at 2. She wanted to text back 100 questions. Instead, she typed, Ava. Okay. The morning crawled past in a blur of congratulations from colleagues and thinly veiled resentment from a few others. Ava tried to focus on work, but her mind kept spinning. Executive editor meant real power, budget authority, the ability to acquire books without endless approval chains. It was everything she'd wanted. So why did it feel like she was standing on the edge of a cliff? At 1:55 p.m., Ava made her way to the 42nd floor, executive territory, where the carpets were thicker and the art on the walls was actually valuable. The conference room was all glass and steel, with a view of Manhattan that made her breath catch. Cole stood at the head of the long table, talking quietly with Victoria Chen, the VP of Marketing. He glanced up when Ava entered, and something in his expression steadied her. Ava, Victoria said warmly, congratulations on the promotion. Long overdue, in my opinion. Thank you, Ava managed, taking a seat near the middle of the table. Other executives filed in, heads of departments she'd only interacted with via email. And then Ethan Cross arrived, his expression thunderous. He took the seat directly across from Ava, his gaze burning into her. Shall we begin? Cole said, settling into his chair with easy authority. Thank you all for making time on short notice. We have several items to discuss, but first I want to formally announce some organizational changes. He outlined 3 promotions across different departments, each met with polite applause. Then he turned his attention to Ava. Ava Brooks has been promoted to executive editor, effective immediately. For those who don't know her work, Ava has been with Ashford Crane for 6 years. In that time, she's brought in some of our most successful mid-list titles, including the Daniels series, which sold 15,000 copies in its first month, well above projections for a debut fantasy. She has exceptional instincts, strong author relationships, and a track record of acquiring books that perform. Ava felt heat creep up her neck as the room's attention focused on her. Cole's voice was professional, factual, but there was something underneath it. Pride, maybe. Respect. Ava will now have direct acquisition authority up to $50,000 and will report to Victoria rather than through the acquisitions chain. I'm confident this restructuring will benefit both Ava and the company. Polite applause. Ava forced a smile, acutely aware of Ethan's rigid posture across the table. The meeting continued with budget discussions and marketing strategies. Ava contributed when appropriate, her editorial background making her relevant to several conversations. She was good at this part, analyzing market trends, identifying reader appetite, articulating why certain books would succeed, but every time she glanced at Ethan, she found him staring at her with barely contained fury. When the meeting finally adjourned, Ava gathered her materials quickly, hoping to escape before, Ava, a word. Ethan's voice, cold and clipped. Ava turned slowly. The conference room had emptied except for the 2 of them and Cole, who was reviewing something on his tablet near the windows. Congratulations on your promotion, Ethan said, his smile not reaching his eyes. Quite a surprise. I wasn't aware you'd applied for executive-level positions. I didn't apply, Ava said carefully. It was offered. Interesting. Because typically promotions at this level go through a review process. Performance evaluations, peer recommendations. But apparently you bypassed all of that. I didn't bypass anything. I was informed this morning, same as you. Ethan stepped closer, lowering his voice. You've been here 6 years, Ava. I've been here 15. I know how things work. And what I know is that nobody jumps 2 levels without a very compelling reason. So what's your compelling reason? The implication was clear and ugly. Ava felt anger surge through her chest, hot and sharp. My compelling reason is that I'm excellent at my job, she said quietly. I've acquired profitable books, maintained strong author relationships, and contributed to this department's success consistently. If you have concerns about the promotion, take them up with leadership, but don't question my qualifications. Your qualifications, Ethan repeated. Right. Well, I'm sure your sudden rise has nothing to do with running into our CEO at a family wedding. Pure coincidence, I'm sure. Ava's hands clenched at her sides. That's out of line. Is it? Because from where I'm standing, Mr. Cross. Cole's voice cut through the tension like a blade. He'd moved closer without Ava noticing, his expression pleasant, but his eyes hard. Is there a problem? Cole asked. Ethan's jaw worked. Just offering my congratulations to Ms. Brooks, making sure she understands the expectations of her new role. I'm sure she does. Ava's quite capable. Cole's tone was mild, but there was steel underneath. And since you're here, I wanted to discuss your Q2 performance metrics. My office, please. Now. It wasn't a request. Ethan's face went through several colors before settling on a dull red. Of course. Happy to discuss. He left without another word. Cole waited until the door closed, then turned to Ava. You okay? He asked quietly. I'm fine. Ava's voice shook slightly. Just processing being accused of sleeping my way into a promotion by my former supervisor. He didn't say that explicitly. He didn't have to. Ava pressed her palms against the cool glass of the conference table. And now I'm going to spend the next 6 months proving I didn't earn this position on my back. Great. Ava, did you promote me because of the wedding? The question came out sharper than she intended. Because we talked? Because you felt sorry for me? Cole's expression went carefully blank. I promoted you because you've been recommended for advancement 3 times in the last 2 years and were passed over each time. Because your acquisition numbers are consistently strong. Because you have the respect of your colleagues and your authors. And because this company works better when talented people are in positions where they can actually make decisions. Ava stared at him. I was recommended 3 times? Yes. By who? Victoria, for one. Marcus Chen. 2 of your authors wrote unsolicited letters. The recommendations are in your file. And? Cole hesitated. And they were all blocked at the approval stage. By Ethan. The conference room seemed to tilt. What? He had justifications. You needed more experience, the timing wasn't right, budget constraints. But the pattern was clear. You were being deliberately held back. Ava felt like she'd been punched 3 times. 3 times she'd been recommended and never told. 3 times someone had decided she wasn't ready, wasn't good enough, wasn't worth the investment. Why would he do that? She whispered. I don't know, but I intend to find out. Cole's voice was gentle now. Ava, I didn't promote you because of the wedding. I promoted you because when I started reviewing personnel files last week, yours was flagged in the system as having unresolved advancement recommendations. I looked into it, I saw the pattern, and I made the decision that should have been made 2 years ago. Last week, Ava repeated. Before the wedding. Before the wedding, Cole confirmed. The paperwork was already in motion, Friday afternoon before I even knew I'd see you at Melissa's reception. Relief and anger warred in Ava's chest. Relief that this wasn't charity or attraction clouding judgment. Anger that she'd lost 2 years of career advancement because of one man's obstruction. What happens now? She asked. Now you do the job you were always capable of doing. You acquire books, you build your list, you prove, not to Ethan, not to anyone who doubts you, but to yourself, that you belong at this level. And Ethan? Cole's expression went cold. Let me worry about Ethan. Ava wanted to ask what that meant, but something in Cole's tone suggested she didn't want to know. Thank you, she said instead, for believing I earned this. You did earn it, Ava. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. Their eyes held for a moment too long. Then Cole glanced at his watch and grimaced. I need to deal with that conversation. But Ava, welcome to the executive team. I'm glad you're here. He left before she could respond. Ava stood alone in the conference room, looking out at the Manhattan skyline, trying to absorb the magnitude of what had just happened. She'd been promoted. She had real power now, real authority. And she'd made an enemy of a man who'd been sabotaging her career for 2 years without her knowing. Ava pulled out her phone and called the one person who'd understand. Hey, her best friend Tasha answered on the second ring. What's wrong? You never call during work hours. I got promoted, Ava said. That's amazing. Why do you sound like someone died? Because I just found out my boss has been blocking my advancement for 2 years, and because the CEO promoted me, and because now everyone's going to think I slept with him to get it. Tasha was quiet for a beat. Okay, deep breath. First, congratulations, because you deserve this, and we both know it. Second, screw anyone who thinks you didn't earn it. Third, wait, did you say the CEO, Cole Whitmore? Yeah, the hot one you met at the wedding? I didn't say he was hot. You didn't have to. I could hear it in your voice when you texted me Sunday night. Tasha's tone shifted to concern. Ava, did he really promote you just for your work? Or is there something else happening here? I don't know, Ava admitted. He says the promotion was already in motion before the wedding, that it's based on merit. But Tasha, the way he looks at me. How does he look at you? Like he sees me, all of me. Not just the professional mask or the single mom struggle, like he's actually interested in who I am. And that scares you. Terrifies me, Ava whispered. Because what if I'm reading this wrong? What if he's just being kind and I'm projecting? What if I let myself believe this is real and it blows up in my face and I lose everything I've worked for? Tasha sighed. Baby, you can't live your whole life protecting yourself from disappointment. Sometimes you have to take a risk. Easy for you to say, you're not a single mom with a 5-year-old depending on you. No, but I am your best friend who's watched you close yourself off from any possibility of romance for 5 years because you're terrified of making another mistake. Zoe's father was a selfish asshole. That doesn't mean every man will be. Ava closed her eyes. I know, you just need to give yourself permission to want something for you. Not for Zoe, not for your career, for you. Tasha's voice softened. What do you want, Ava? The question hung in the air. What did she want? She wanted to believe Cole's interest was real. She wanted to explore whatever this connection was without fear of professional consequences. She wanted to stop being so tired all the time, to share the weight of responsibility with someone who actually wanted to help carry it. She wanted to let herself hope. I want to not be afraid, Ava said quietly. Then don't be. Take it slow, set boundaries, protect yourself if you need to. But don't shut this down before you even know what it is. They talked for a few more minutes before Ava had to get back to work. But Tasha's words lingered as she returned to her desk. Now her temporary desk, she realized, until they set up her new office. Her new office. Executive Editor Ava Brooks. It still didn't feel real. The afternoon passed in a whirlwind of administrative tasks, setting up new system access, reviewing her expanded acquisition authority, fielding congratulatory emails. Marcus took her to coffee and grilled her gently about the promotion until she showed him the documentation proving it was merit-based. He'd hugged her fiercely and promised to bring champagne to their next departmental dinner. By 6 p.m., Ava was exhausted. She gathered her things, ready to pick up Zoe from aftercare, when her phone buzzed. Cole. Dinner? Ava's fingers hovered over the keyboard. It was a simple question with complicated implications. Ava. I have to pick up Zoe. Cole. All 3 of us then. If that's okay. There's a family-friendly Italian place near your neighborhood. Casual. No pressure. No pressure. Right. Just dinner with her CEO and her 5-year-old daughter. Completely casual. Ava. Zoe loves Italian. Cole. 7:30? I'll text you the address. Ava. Okay. Ava stared at her phone for a long moment. Then she called Tasha back. I'm having dinner with him tonight, she said without preamble. Tasha laughed. Good. Wear something that makes you feel confident and let yourself have fun. That's an order. Yes, ma'am. And Ava? Text me after so I know you survived. Will do. Ava picked up Zoe from aftercare, listening to an enthusiastic recap of the kindergarten day, involving finger painting and a minor disagreement over playground equipment that had been resolved through using our words. Then they drove home, and Ava faced the monumental task of finding something to wear that was nice but not too nice, attractive but not trying too hard, professional but not cold. She settled on dark jeans, a soft burgundy sweater, and ankle boots. Minimal makeup, hair down in its natural curls. Zoe wore her favorite purple dress with leggings and light-up sneakers, declaring herself fancy. The restaurant was exactly as advertised, warm and welcoming, with checkered tablecloths and the smell of garlic bread. Cole was already there, sitting in a booth near the back, and he stood when they approached. "Hi," Ava said, suddenly nervous. "Hi." Cole's smile was genuine, reaching his eyes. "Zoe, you look very fancy tonight." "Thank you. My shoes light up. See?" Zoe stomped her feet, demonstrating the flashing LEDs. "Those are excellent shoes. I'm jealous." They settled into the booth, Zoe on Ava's side, Cole across from them. The waiter brought crayons and a kid's menu for Zoe, who immediately began coloring with intense concentration. "So," Cole said, his attention on Ava, "how was the rest of your Monday?" "Overwhelming. Good, but overwhelming." Ava fiddled with her water glass. "I still can't quite believe the promotion is real." "It's real and deserved. Everyone keeps saying that." "Because it's true." Cole leaned back, his expression thoughtful. "Can I tell you something, off the record?" "Okay." "When I took over as CEO 18 months ago, one of my priorities was identifying talent that was being underutilized. People who were consistently producing results but not being advanced. Your name came up in 3 different reports from 3 different consultants. Every single analysis flagged you as someone with executive potential who wasn't being developed." Ava blinked. "I had no idea." "You weren't supposed to, but I've been watching your work for over a year, Ava. The Daniels series wasn't the first acquisition that impressed me. It was just the most recent." He paused. "The wedding didn't create my interest in your career. It just gave me a chance to see the person behind the impressive track record." "And," Ava asked quietly, "what did you see?" "Someone stronger than she gives herself credit for. Someone who fights for what she believes in, who balances impossible responsibilities with grace, who loves her daughter fiercely and doesn't apologize for putting her first." Cole's gaze was steady. "Someone I'd like to know better, if that's something you're interested in." Ava's heart hammered against her ribs. This was it, the moment where she either closed the door or opened it. "I'm interested," she said, the words feeling like jumping off a cliff. "But I need to be careful, for Zoe's sake, for my career. I can't afford to make mistakes." "Then we'll be careful," Cole said simply. "We'll take this at whatever pace makes you comfortable. And if it ever becomes a conflict professionally, we address it head on. No games, no hiding. Deal?" "Deal." Zoe looked up from her coloring. "What's a deal?" "It's when 2 people promise to do something," Cole explained. "Like a pinky promise, but with words." "I like pinky promises better. They're more official." Zoe held out her small pinky to Cole. "Pinky promise you'll be nice to my mama." Cole's expression softened completely. He extended his pinky, linking it with Zoe's. "I pinky promise." "Good." Zoe returned to her coloring, satisfied. Ava felt tears prick her eyes. Cole met her gaze over the table, and something unspoken passed between them. An understanding that this wasn't just about 2 adults navigating attraction. It was about honoring the family Ava had built and making space for something new without destroying what mattered most. Dinner arrived. Spaghetti and meatballs for Zoe, chicken parmesan for Ava, and some kind of elaborate pasta dish for Cole. The conversation flowed easily, touching on everything from favorite books to Zoe's elaborate plans for her upcoming 6th birthday party to Cole's confession that he couldn't cook to save his life. "Not even eggs?" Ava asked, laughing. "Especially not eggs. They require timing and technique. I burn water." "How do you survive?" "Meal services, takeout, occasional visits to my mother's house where she feeds me like I'm still 12. Cole grinned. "It's not dignified, but it works." Zoe found this hilarious. "Mama's a really good cook. She makes the best mac and cheese, from scratch, not the box kind." "That's impressive," Cole said seriously. "Mac and cheese from scratch is advanced cooking." It's just a ruse, Ava demurred, but she was smiling. They lingered over dessert, tiramisu that Zoe declared weird but good, and by the time they left the restaurant, it was nearly 9. Zoe was drooping with exhaustion, and Cole walked them to Ava's car, waiting while she got Zoe buckled in. "Thank you for tonight," Ava said, straightening. "It was nice. Really nice." It was. Cole stepped closer, close enough that Ava could smell his cologne. "Can I ask you something?" "Sure." "The coffee invitation. Yesterday. Are you ready to make that invitation now for the right reasons?" Ava's breath caught. The parking lot was quiet except for distant traffic. The streetlight cast shadows across Cole's face, making his eyes darker, more intense. "Yes," she said. "I'd like to have coffee with you, because I want to spend time with you, because I'm curious about who you are outside of work, because when you look at me like you're looking at me right now, I feel like maybe I'm allowed to want something for myself." Cole's hand came up slowly, giving her time to pull away. When she didn't, his fingers brushed her cheek, gentle and warm. "You're allowed," he said quietly. "You've always been allowed." He didn't kiss her, didn't push for more, just let his hand linger for a moment before stepping back. "Text me when you get home safe?" he asked. "I will." Ava drove home in a daze, Zoe already asleep in the back seat. She carried her daughter upstairs, tucked her into bed with her favorite stuffed dragon, then collapsed on her own bed and texted Tasha. "Ava, I survived. More than survived. Tasha, I think this might be real. Tasha, about damn time you let yourself have something good. Details tomorrow. Sleep well, babe." Ava was about to set her phone down when another text came through. Cole, "Home safe?" Ava, "Yes, Zoe's already asleep. Thank you again for dinner." Cole, "Thank you for saying yes. Coffee this weekend?" Ava, "Saturday morning? There's a playground near a good coffee shop. Zoe can play while we talk." Cole said, "Perfect. Send me the address. Sleep well, Ava." Ava, "You too." Ava set her phone on the nightstand and stared at the ceiling. Somewhere between the wedding and tonight, her carefully controlled life had shifted. The walls she'd built around herself were developing cracks, and instead of terrifying her, it felt like breathing after holding her breath for years. She thought about Cole's pinky promise to Zoe, about the way he'd looked at her in the parking lot, about the possibility of building something real with someone who saw her completely and didn't flinch. For the first time in 5 years, Ava Brooks let herself hope, and it felt like freedom. Saturday morning dawned bright and clear, the kind of spring day that made New York feel almost magical. Ava had been awake since 6, her stomach a knot of nerves and anticipation. She'd changed outfits twice before settling on jeans, a soft gray t-shirt, and a denim jacket. Casual, normal, like she wasn't about to have coffee with a man who made her heart race every time he looked at her. Zoe bounced around the apartment in her favorite rainbow shirt and overalls, chattering about the playground and whether there would be swings, and could she please get a cookie with her hot chocolate. "We'll see," Ava said for the 3rd time, checking her reflection one more time. Her curls were behaving at least. Small mercies. They arrived at the coffee shop 15 minutes early. Ava ordered Zoe's hot chocolate and her own latte, then claimed a table on the patio that had a perfect view of the playground. Zoe was already eyeing the slide with intense focus. "Can I go play now?" she asked, practically vibrating with impatience. "Wait until we see Mr. Whitmore, okay? I want you where I can see you." "But Mama." "Zoe." Her daughter deflated slightly, but nodded. They sat in companionable silence for exactly 90 seconds before Zoe spotted Cole walking up the sidewalk. "There he is!" Zoe waved enthusiastically. "Mr. Whitmore! Over here!" Cole's face broke into that rare, genuine smile as he approached. He wore dark jeans and a navy Henley, aviator sunglasses pushed up into his hair, and he looked unfairly attractive for a Saturday morning. "Good morning," he said, sliding into the chair across from Ava. "You both look ready for adventure." "There's swings," Zoe informed him urgently, "and a big slide. Can I go now, Mama? Please?" Ava glanced at the playground, fully fenced, plenty of other parents supervising their kids. "Okay, but stay where I can see you." Zoe was gone in a flash of rainbow and denim. Ava watched her daughter race toward the swings, then turned back to find Cole studying her with an expression she couldn't quite read. "What?" she asked. Nothing. Just, you're a good mom. The way you balance giving her freedom and keeping her safe. It's impressive. Heat crept up Ava's neck. I'm just doing what needs to be done. That's what makes it impressive. Cole flagged down the barista and ordered a black coffee, then settled back in his chair. So, we have maybe 20 minutes before she comes back demanding snacks. What do you want to know about me? The directness caught Ava off guard. You're just putting it all out there? Why waste time dancing around it? You want to know if I'm worth the risk. I want you to have all the information you need to decide. He took a sip of his coffee when it arrived. Ask me anything. Ava considered him for a moment. Okay, why aren't you married? Direct. I like it. Cole's expression turned thoughtful. Honestly, I've never met anyone who made me want to disrupt my life. I dated in college, had a few relationships in my 20s that lasted 6 months to a year, but they all felt like going through motions, checking boxes. This is the age where you get serious. This is when you settle down. I didn't want to marry someone just because it was expected. So you've been waiting for, what, lightning to strike? Maybe. Or maybe I've been waiting to meet someone who feels like coming home instead of a project to manage. His gaze held hers. What about you? Besides Zoe's father, who clearly didn't deserve you, have you dated? Ava laughed without humor. A few times, disaster every time. Single mom is apparently code for desperate or damaged in the dating world. I had one guy ask if Zoe would be in bed by 8 so we could have adult time. Another spent the entire date talking about his ex-wife and how women always want too much. After a while, I just stopped trying. It was easier to focus on Zoe and work. Easier, Cole repeated, but not what you wanted. No, Ava admitted quietly, but what I wanted didn't seem realistic. I wanted a partner, someone who saw Zoe as part of the package, not an obstacle. Someone who didn't need me to be grateful for basic decency. Someone who could handle the reality of my life without making me feel like I was asking too much just by existing. That's not asking too much. That's asking for the bare minimum. Tell that to my dating history. Cole leaned forwards, his expression intense. Ava, I need you to hear this. You are not too much. Zoe is not a burden. Any man who made you feel otherwise was an idiot who didn't deserve your time. You're brilliant and beautiful and stronger than anyone I've ever met. And if I'm lucky enough that you choose to let me into your life, I will never make you feel like you have to shrink yourself or apologize for your circumstances. Ava's throat tightened. She wanted to believe him so badly it hurt. That's a big promise, she whispered. I don't make promises I can't keep. They sat in charged silence, the morning sounds of the city washing over them. Zoe's laughter carried from the playground where she was now engaged in some elaborate game with 2 other kids. Your turn, Ava said, needing to shift the intensity. What do you do for fun, besides rescuing single moms at weddings and promoting undervalued employees? Cole's mouth quirked. I run. Early mornings, usually. Read a lot. Fiction, mostly, though my job makes it feel like homework sometimes. I play piano badly. Visit museums when I need to think. Spend too much money on my sister's kids because I'm the fun uncle. He paused. And lately, I think about a woman in an emerald dress who looked at me like she was trying to figure out if I was real. I was trying to figure out if you were real, Ava said. You still don't quite make sense. CEOs aren't supposed to be this. This? Kind, present, interested in employees as actual people. Maybe you've known the wrong CEOs. Cole's expression turned serious. I meant what I said at dinner. I want to know you, Ava, not your professional accomplishments or your publishing instincts. You. What makes you laugh? What keeps you up at night? What you dream about when you let yourself dream? I dream about stability, Ava said honestly. A life where I'm not constantly calculating whether I can afford both new shoes for Zoe and fixing my car. Where I'm recognized for my work without having to fight for every scrap of acknowledgement. Where Zoe grows up knowing she's loved and valued and capable of anything. She looked down at her coffee. And sometimes, when I'm really indulgent, I dream about having a partner. Someone to share the weight with. Someone who makes me feel like I'm not alone in this. You're not alone, Cole said softly. Not anymore. Not if you don't want to be. Before Ava could respond, Zoe came racing back, breathless and pink-cheeked. Mama, There's a girl over there named Sophie, and she has a dragon shirt like mine, and she says there's a fairy garden behind the slide. Can I go see, please? Ava glanced toward the playground, spotted a woman who was clearly Sophie's mother watching the kids carefully. Okay, 10 more minutes, then we need to get going. Thank you. Zoe spun toward Cole. Do you want to see the fairy garden too? Cole stood without hesitation. I would love to see the fairy garden. Lead the way. Ava watched them go, her daughter's small hand confidently grasping Cole's much larger one, chattering about fairies and dragons and some elaborate backstory she'd invented. Cole listened with complete attention, asking questions, letting Zoe pull him toward the playground equipment. Tasha was right. Ava had spent 5 years protecting herself from disappointment, but watching Cole crouch down to examine an arrangement of painted rocks that apparently constituted the fairy garden, watching him treat her daughter's imagination with the same seriousness he'd bring to a business meeting, Ava felt something crack open in her chest. Maybe this was worth the risk. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Unknown. Having fun playing house with the boss. Careful, Ava. People are watching. Ava's blood went cold. She scanned the coffee shop patio, the sidewalk, the playground. Nothing seemed out of place. But someone was watching. Someone who had her number and knew about her relationship with Cole. Another text arrived. Unknown. You think you earned that promotion? Everyone knows the truth. You're just the latest in a long line of ambitious women who fuck their way to the top. How long until he gets bored? Ava's hands shook. She wanted to throw the phone, wanted to scream. Instead, she took a screenshot, blocked the number, and tried to control her breathing. Ava? She looked up to find Cole standing beside the table, Zoe already racing back toward the swings. His expression shifted immediately from relaxed to alert. What's wrong? He asked, sitting down. Nothing, just... She stopped. They'd promised honesty. No games. I got some nasty texts, anonymous, about us, about the promotion. Cole's jaw tightened. Show me. Ava handed him her phone. She watched his face go from concerned to furious in the space of 3 seconds. This is harassment, he said flatly, and defamation. We need to report this to HR and potentially legal. Cole, I don't want to make a big deal. Someone is threatening you, trying to intimidate you. That's already a big deal. His voice was controlled, but steel ran underneath. This kind of behavior is exactly what creates hostile work environments. We shut it down now, hard, or it escalates. What if they're right, though? The words came out small and broken. What if everyone thinks I slept with you for the promotion? What if this follows me for the rest of my career? Then we fight it, together. Cole reached across the table, his hand covering hers. Ava, listen to me. You earned your position through 6 years of excellent work. That's documented fact. What some coward says through anonymous texts doesn't change reality. And anyone who believes gossip over evidence isn't worth your concern. Easy for you to say, you're the CEO. I'm the woman who what? Dared to be talented and attractive at the same time? Who had the audacity to accept a promotion she deserved? Cole's grip tightened. Don't let them make you smaller. Don't give them that power. Ava wanted to believe him. But the texts had awakened every insecurity she'd been pushing down since Monday. I need to think, she said, pulling her hand back. I need to figure out how to handle this without making everything worse. Cole's expression suggested he wanted to argue, but he nodded. Okay, but you're not handling this alone. Whatever you decide, I'm here. And Ava? That number's going to be traced. We'll find out who sent those messages. They collected Zoe and walked back to Ava's car in tense silence. Zoe, oblivious to the undercurrents, chattered about the fairy garden and Sophie, and could they come back next week? We'll see, baby, Ava said, buckling her in. Cole waited until Zoe was occupied with her stuffed dragon, then lowered his voice. Don't let this person win. Don't pull away because someone's trying to scare you. I'm not pulling away, Ava said, but it felt like a lie. I'm just being realistic about the situation. The situation is that we're two adults who are interested in each other and are both single and not violating any company policy. Cole's voice was firm. Everything else is noise. Noise that could destroy my reputation. Only if we let it. He hesitated. There's a company retreat next weekend. 3 days at a resort upstate, team building, strategic planning. You're invited as part of the executive team. It would be a good opportunity to show everyone that you're serious about your role and not intimidated by gossip. Ava's stomach clenched. A retreat with executives, where everyone will be watching to see if we're involved. Where everyone will see you doing your job exceptionally well, Cole corrected. But it's your choice. I won't pressure you. Can I think about it? Of course. They said goodbye without touching, maintaining careful professional distance, even though Zoe wasn't paying attention. Ava drove home feeling like she was fracturing into pieces. By Monday morning, Ava had made her decision. She would go to the retreat. She would show up, do excellent work, and prove that her promotion was based on merit. She would not hide or apologize or give anonymous cowards the satisfaction of seeing her retreat. But first, she had to get through a week of work while feeling like every conversation was being analyzed for evidence of impropriety. Her new office was smaller than she'd imagined, but infinitely better than a cubicle. Window with a view of the city, door that closed, enough space for a decent desk and 2 guest chairs. Her nameplate was already mounted outside. Ava Brooks, executive editor. She ran her fingers over the engraved letters and felt a surge of defiant pride. Nice digs. Ava turned to find Marcus leaning in the doorway, holding 2 coffees. Peace offering, he said, handing her one. Or congratulations coffee. Take your pick. Thanks. Ava accepted the cup gratefully. How bad is the gossip? Marcus winced. You want the truth or the comforting lie? Truth. Always. People are talking. Some think you deserve it. Some think it's suspicious timing. And there's a rumor going around that you and Whitmore were seen together outside of work. We had dinner with my 5-year-old daughter at a family restaurant. I believe you. But Ava, you know how this place works. People see what they want to see. Marcus sat in one of the guest chairs. For what it's worth, I'm Team Ava. You've earned this 10 times over. Anyone who says otherwise can fight me. Despite everything, Ava smiled. Thanks, Marcus. Also, fair warning, Ethan's been in a mood all week. He's barely speaking to anyone, and he looks like he wants to set things on fire with his mind. Great, that's just great. The week crawled by in a blur of meetings, manuscript reviews, and carefully avoiding being alone with Cole in any context that could be misconstrued. They communicated primarily through email, professional and distant. Ava threw herself into her work with almost manic focus, determined to prove she belonged in this role. Thursday afternoon, Victoria Chen stopped by Ava's office. Got a minute? She asked. Of course. Ava gestured to the guest chairs. Victoria closed the door and sat, her expression serious. I want to talk to you about the retreat this weekend, and about some concerns that have been raised. Ava's stomach dropped. What kind of concerns? The professional kind. There have been some questions about the timing of your promotion and your relationship with Cole. We don't have a relationship, Ava said carefully. We're colleagues. We ran into each other at a family wedding. That's it. I believe you. But perception matters, especially at this level. Victoria leaned forward. Ava, you're talented. Your acquisition record speaks for itself. But you need to be smart about this. Don't give anyone ammunition to discredit your success. I'm not doing anything wrong, Ava said, hating how defensive she sounded. I know, but sometimes that doesn't matter. Victoria's expression softened. I've been where you are. A woman in a male-dominated industry, working twice as hard for half the recognition. It's exhausting and unfair. So I'm going to give you some advice. Keep your head down, do excellent work, and maintain clear professional boundaries, at least until the gossip dies down. After Victoria left, Ava sat in her office staring at nothing. The message was clear. Her relationship with Cole, whatever it was or might become, was a liability. A threat to the career she'd fought so hard to build. Her phone buzzed. Cole, can you come to my office? Ava's heart raced. Going to the CEO's office would just feed the rumor mill, but refusing would seem suspicious too. Ava, on my way. The 42nd floor was quiet when she arrived. Cole's assistant waved her through, and Ava found him standing at the windows, hands in his pockets, looking out at the city. Close the door, he said without turning around. Ava did, her pulse hammering. What's going on? Cole turned, and his expression was carefully controlled. I had a conversation with Victoria. She told me about her talk with you. She was trying to help. She was trying to warn you that being associated with me is dangerous for your career. Cole's voice was tight. And she's right. This is my fault. I should have anticipated this. It's not your fault that people gossip. It's my responsibility to protect the people who work for me, including protecting them from the consequences of my own actions. He moved closer, stopping a careful 3 feet away. Ava, I think we need to take a step back. Professionally, we maintain our current relationship. But personally, we need to pause, at least until the situation stabilizes. The words hit like a physical blow. You're ending this before it even started? I'm protecting you, Cole said, and the pain in his voice was evident. Every day we're seen together is another day your credibility gets questioned. I won't be the reason your career suffers. Don't I get a say in this? Of course you do. But Ava, think about what you're risking. Your reputation, your advancement, the respect of your colleagues. Is what we have worth that? The question hung between them, brutal in its honesty. I don't know, Ava whispered. I want it to be. But I'm scared. Me too. Cole's hands clenched at his sides like he was physically restraining himself from reaching for her. So we stop. We stay professional. We give the gossip time to die down. And if, in 6 months or a year, we still feel this way, we revisit it. It was logical, practical, the smart thing to do. Ava hated every word of it. Okay, she said, forcing the word past the tightness in her throat. Professional distance. I understand. Ava, I should get back to work. She turned toward the door before he could see the tears forming. I'll see you at the retreat this weekend. She made it back to her office before breaking down, closed the door, sat at her desk, and let herself cry silently for exactly 5 minutes. Then she wiped her face, reapplied her makeup, and went back to work. Because that's what Ava Brooks did. She survived. She adapted. She kept going even when everything hurt. Friday evening, Ava packed for the retreat with mechanical efficiency. Business casual clothes, laptop, phone charger, the new manuscript she was evaluating. Everything professional and appropriate. Zoe was spending the weekend with Ava's parents, thrilled about the sleepover and promised trips to the zoo. Ava hugged her daughter tightly before leaving, breathing in the scent of her strawberry shampoo. I love you, baby. Love you too, Mama. Don't work too hard, okay? I'll try. The resort was 2 hours north of the city, a sprawling property with conference facilities and hiking trails. Ava checked in at the main building, received her room assignment, and headed toward the lodges. Her phone buzzed. Marcus. I'm in Building C, Room 14. Where are you? Ava. Building C, Room 22. Marcus. Perfect. Drinks tonight after the welcome dinner? Ava. Definitely. Ava found her room, unpacked quickly, changed into a blazer and dress pants for the welcome dinner. Professional, polished, unassailable. The dining hall was already filling when she arrived. Round tables, name cards, a buffet set up that smelled amazing. Ava found her assigned seat and froze. Cole's name card sat directly to her left. Of course, because the universe had a sense of humor. She sat down, maintaining her composure as other executives filtered in. Victoria took the seat to Ava's right, greeting her warmly. Marcus ended up 2 tables over, shooting her sympathetic looks. Then Cole arrived, and Ava's entire body went tense. He looked tired, she noticed, shadows under his eyes that even the good lighting couldn't hide. But he smiled professionally at the table, greeted everyone by name, and sat beside Ava without acknowledging her beyond a polite nod. Professional distance. Right. The dinner was torture. Ava participated in conversations, laughed at appropriate moments, discussed publishing trends, and market analysis. All while hyper-aware of Cole inches away, so close she could smell his cologne. So far away he might as well have been on another planet. She excused herself as soon as dessert was served, needing air and space and anything that wasn't this performance of normalcy. The resort had a terrace overlooking the lake. Ava stood at the railing, watching moonlight ripple across the water, trying to remember how to breathe. I hate this too. She turned to find Cole standing a careful distance away, hands in his pockets. We agreed, Ava said. Professional distance. We did. And I'm trying. But Ava, sitting next to you and pretending you're just another colleague is the hardest thing I've done in years. Then why are we doing it? Because I'm trying to protect you. What if I don't want to be protected? The words came out sharper than intended. What if I'm tired of everyone deciding what's best for me without asking what I actually want? Cole moved closer, and Ava's breath caught. What do you want? I want to stop being afraid. I want to stop letting other people's opinions control my choices. I want... She stopped, the confession too dangerous to voice. Say it, Cole urged softly. I want you, Ava whispered. I want to see where this goes without worrying about gossip or career implications, or anything except whether this feeling is real. But I'm terrified that wanting you will cost me everything I've worked for. It won't. I won't let it. You can't promise that. No, Cole admitted. But I can promise I'll fight like hell to make sure you're protected, that your career is never compromised because of me, that anyone who tries to use our relationship against you will answer to me personally. Ava laughed shakily. That's very romantic, but also slightly terrifying. I contain multitudes. His expression turned serious. Ava, I meant what I said about stepping back if that's what's best for you, but I need you to know this isn't casual for me. I don't do halfway. If we do this, I'm all in. The gossip, the scrutiny, the complications, all of it. That's a lot of pressure. It's honesty. Cole finally closed the distance between them, his hand coming up to cup her face. I'm not asking you to decide right now, but think about it. Really think about whether this is worth fighting for. His thumb brushed across her cheekbone, and Ava's eyes fluttered closed. For one perfect moment, the world narrowed to just this. The warmth of his hand, the sound of his breathing, the possibility of something real and terrifying and wonderful. Then her phone exploded with notifications. Ava pulled back, fumbling for her cell. Email after email flooding her inbox, all from the same address. Her heart sank as she opened the first one. It was a photo, taken tonight at dinner. Cole's hand reaching toward Ava under the table, both of them leaning close. The angle made it look intimate, private, damning. The subject line read, "Everyone should see this." The email had been sent to the entire executive retreat distribution list. Ava's hands shook as she scrolled through message after message. The photo had been forwarded, replied to, screenshot, and shared. Her phone buzzed with texts, Marcus asking if she was okay, Victoria's terse, "We need to talk," numbers she didn't recognize with messages ranging from supportive to vicious. Ava. Cole was looking at his own phone, his expression murderous. This was photoshopped. That moment didn't happen. Look at the metadata. It doesn't matter if it's fake, Ava said, her voice hollow. Everyone's already seen it. Everyone thinks it's real. And even if we prove it's fake, the damage is done. Another email arrived. This one had an attachment, a professionally formatted document titled Evidence of Workplace Impropriety. It outlined every interaction between Ava and Cole going back to the wedding, with dates, locations, and cherry-picked details that painted a clear picture of an inappropriate relationship influencing business decisions. And at the bottom, in small print, was a name, Ethan Cross. Cole saw it at the same moment. His entire body went rigid. That bastard, he breathed. He's been building a case, documenting everything, waiting for the perfect moment to destroy your credibility. Ava felt like she was falling. He's going to ruin me. Make it look like I seduced you for the promotion. Everyone will believe it. The photo, the documentation, all of it fits the narrative perfectly. No. Cole's voice cut through her panic like steel. He's not going to win. We fight this. Now. Tonight. How? The photo's already everywhere. People are already... Ava. Cole gripped her shoulders, forcing her to meet his eyes. Trust me. Please. Let me handle this. She wanted to, but trust felt like a luxury she couldn't afford. Before she could answer, her phone rang. The number was blocked, but Ava answered anyway. Enjoying the retreat? Ethan's voice was smooth, satisfied. I wanted to give you a chance to resign quietly. Save yourself the humiliation of being terminated for ethics violations. You have until morning to decide. The line went dead. Ava looked at Cole, and something in her expression must have terrified him because he pulled her into his arms without hesitation. He's bluffing, Cole said against her hair. He has no authority to terminate you, and we can fight the photo. We can... Cole. Ava pulled back, tears streaming down her face. What if I can't fight this? What if he's right and I'm just fooling myself, thinking I deserve more than I actually do? Don't you dare. His hands framed her face, thumbs wiping away tears. Don't let him make you doubt yourself. You are brilliant and talented, and you earned every ounce of your success. Ethan is a bitter, insecure man who's been blocking your advancement for years because he knew you'd outshine him. He's scared of you, Ava. That's why he's doing this. Then why does it feel like he's winning? Cole's jaw tightened. Because we're letting him control the narrative. That ends now. He pulled out his phone and made a call. This is Cole Whitmore. I need an emergency board meeting convened tonight. Yes, I know what time it is. No, this can't wait. We have a senior executive engaging in targeted harassment and defamation of another employee. I'm sending you documentation now. He paused, listening. Exactly. See you in an hour. Ava stared at him. What are you doing? Taking away his power. Ethan thinks he can manipulate the situation because he controls information. But what he doesn't know is that I've been building my own case. Every blocked promotion, every stolen credit, every instance of him sabotaging talented employees to protect his own position. It's all documented. You've been investigating him? Since I found the pattern with your advancement recommendations. Cole's expression was grim. Ethan's been doing this for years. You weren't the first person he targeted. You're just the one who was talented enough to threaten his entire career. So I started pulling records, interviewing former employees, documenting patterns of behavior. I was planning to handle it quietly after the retreat, but he forced my hand. Cole, if you do this, if you go to war with him over me, people will say it's because we're involved. It'll make everything worse. Then let them talk. His voice was fierce. I'm not letting him destroy you to save his own reputation. And Ava, for what it's worth, I'd do this even if we weren't, whatever we are. This isn't about protecting someone I care about. It's about doing what's right. Ava wanted to believe him, but the fear was overwhelming. I need to think, she whispered. I need space to figure out what to do. Cole's expression crumbled, but he nodded. Okay, take all the time you need. But Ava, know this. I'm fighting for you whether you ask me to or not. This isn't something you have to face alone. He walked away, leaving Ava alone on the terrace with her shattered career and her racing heart and absolutely no idea what to do next. She pulled out her phone and called the one person who would understand. Tasha, she said when her friend answered. I think I just made the biggest mistake of my life. Start from the beginning, Tasha said, her voice calm and steady through the phone. And don't leave anything out. Ava sat on a bench at the edge of the resort grounds, wrapped in her jacket against the evening chill, and told her best friend everything. The photo, Ethan's documentation, the threatening phone call, Cole's promise to fight, her own spiraling fear that she'd destroyed her career by daring to want something for herself. Okay, Tasha said when Ava finally ran out of words. First, breathe. You're spiraling, and that's not going to help. Second, this Ethan guy sounds like a nightmare who's been waiting for an excuse to take you down. Third, and this is important, what does your gut tell you about Cole? Not your fear, not your insecurity, your gut. Ava closed her eyes, trying to quiet the panic enough to hear her own instincts. My gut says he's telling the truth, that he'd fight for me even if we weren't whatever we are, that he's one of the few people who's ever seen me as more than a single mom or an ambitious woman or a diversity hire. Then trust that, trust him, and trust yourself. Tasha's voice softened. Babe, you've spent 5 years playing it safe, being careful, making yourself smaller so nobody could accuse you of wanting too much. And where has that gotten you? Blocked promotions, stolen credit, and a boss who thinks he can threaten you into resigning because he's scared you're better than him. I have a daughter to think about, Ava whispered. If I lose this job, you won't, because you're too good at what you do. And even if Ashford Crane lets you go, which they won't because that would be a lawsuit waiting to happen, you'd land on your feet. You always do. Tasha paused. But here's the real question. Are you going to let Ethan Cross decide how your story ends? Or are you going to fight for the life you deserve? Ava sat with that question, feeling the weight of it settle in her chest. She thought about Zoe, who watched her mother navigate the world and learned what it meant to be a woman, to have ambition, to stand up for herself. What lesson was Ava teaching if she backed down now? That women who want too much deserve to be punished? That careers are more important than dignity? That fear should always win? I'm going to fight, Ava said, and the words felt like steel in her mouth. I'm going to find Cole and tell him I'm in, whatever it takes. That's my girl. Now go get your man and destroy that petty little troll who thought he could intimidate you. Ava ended the call and stood, squaring her shoulders. She was halfway back to the main lodge when she saw them, Cole and Ethan, standing near the parking area in what was clearly an argument. Cole's posture was rigid with barely controlled fury, and Ethan looked smug despite being 6 inches shorter. Ava moved closer, staying in the shadows. Think you can just bulldoze over established protocol because you're infatuated with a pretty face, Ethan was saying. The board will see right through this. You promoted your girlfriend and now you're trying to destroy anyone who questions it. She's not my girlfriend, Cole said, his voice dangerously quiet. She's a colleague who you've been systematically sabotaging for 2 years. And the board is going to see documentation of every single time you blocked her advancement, stole credit for her acquisitions, and undermined her work to protect your own mediocrity. Mediocrity? Ethan's laugh was sharp. I've been with this company for 15 years. I built the acquisitions department from the ground up. What has Ava Brooks done except bat her eyelashes and play the struggling single mother card? Cole moved so fast Ava barely saw it. One moment he was standing 3 feet away, the next he was in Ethan's space, looming. Say one more word about her, Cole said, each word precise and deadly. One more dismissive, sexist, pathetic word, and I will personally ensure you never work in publishing again. Not at any imprint, not at any house, not even as a freelance reader. Do you understand me? Ethan paled but held his ground. You're threatening me. That's actionable. It's a promise, and unlike you, I keep my promises. Cole stepped back, visibly controlling himself. The board meeting is in 30 minutes. I suggest you prepare your defense, because when they see what I'm going to show them, you'll be lucky if you leave with a severance package instead of a lawsuit. This isn't over, Ethan hissed. Even if the board sides with you, everyone will know the truth, that you promoted your mistress and destroyed a loyal employee to cover it up. Your reputation will be, my reputation will survive because it's built on actual accomplishments, not stolen credit and sabotage. Cole's voice was ice. Can you say the same? Ethan opened his mouth, closed it, then turned and stalked toward the lodge. Cole stood alone in the parking lot, his shoulders tight with tension. Ava stepped out of the shadows. How much did you hear? Cole asked without turning around. Enough. Ava moved to stand beside him, maintaining a careful foot of distance. Thank you for defending me, even when I'm not there to hear it. You shouldn't have to hear people talk about you like that. You shouldn't have to defend your worth to men who are threatened by your competence. Cole finally looked at her, and his expression was raw. I meant what I said earlier. I'm fighting this whether you want me to or not. Ethan's behavior is unacceptable, and it's my responsibility as CEO to address it. I know, and I'm sorry I doubted you. Ava took a breath. I talked to Tasha. She reminded me that I've spent 5 years playing it safe, and it hasn't protected me from anything. So I'm done being safe. I'm done letting fear make my decisions, and I'm done letting Ethan Cross control my narrative. Something fierce and hopeful flickered in Cole's eyes. What are you saying? I'm saying I'm in. Whatever you need from me for this board meeting, I'll provide it. Testimony, documentation, anything. And after, if we survive after, I want to see where this goes. The real this, not the professional distance version. The version where we're honest about what we want and deal with the consequences together. Ava. Her name was almost reverent in his voice. Are you sure? Because once we do this, there's no going back. The scrutiny will be intense. People will talk. Your career will be under a microscope. Let them look. Ava's voice was steady. I've earned my place. My work speaks for itself. And if people want to reduce me to gossip instead of recognizing my accomplishments, that says more about them than it does about me. Cole's hand found hers in the darkness, fingers intertwining. I don't deserve you. Probably not, but you're stuck with me anyway. The board meeting was held in the resort's largest conference room, hastily arranged with the 7 board members appearing via video conference. Ava sat in a chair along the wall, technically present as a witness, but feeling like she was watching her entire future being decided by people she'd never met. Cole stood at the head of the table, his presentation displayed on the screen behind him. He was in full CEO mode now, controlled, articulate, devastating in his precision. "What you're seeing," Cole said, advancing the slide, "is a pattern of behavior spanning 3 years. Ethan Cross has systematically blocked the advancement of 4 talented employees, all women, all people of color, while promoting less qualified candidates who fit a particular demographic profile." The slide showed promotion recommendations, performance reviews, acquisition numbers. The evidence was damning. Ava watched Ethan's face go from red to white as his career unraveled in real time. In Ava Brooks' case specifically, Cole continued, she was recommended for promotion 3 separate times. Each time, Mr. Cross provided justification for denial that contradicted her documented performance. Meanwhile, he took credit for several of her most successful acquisitions in his own performance reviews. A board member spoke up, her voice crisp through the speakers. "Mr. Cross, do you dispute any of this evidence?" Ethan stood on shaking legs. "I dispute the characterization. These were judgment calls made in the best interest of the department. Ms. Brooks is talented, but she lacks the experience for executive level. She has more successful acquisitions in 6 years than you've had in the last 8, Cole interrupted. Her retention rate with authors is 92% compared to the department average of 73%, and 3 of the last 5 award-nominated titles from our house came from her list. What experience is she lacking, exactly?" Ethan's mouth worked soundlessly. Another board member leaned forward. "Mr. Whitmore, while this evidence is concerning, we need to address the elephant in the room. There are allegations that your decision to promote Ms. Brooks was influenced by a personal relationship. The photo that circulated tonight was fabricated," Cole said flatly. "We've had our IT security team analyze the metadata. The image was digitally manipulated using commercially available software. The original photo shows Ms. Brooks and myself at opposite ends of the table engaged in separate conversations. Someone, and I have strong suspicions about who, altered it to create the appearance of impropriety." He advanced to the next slide, showing the metadata analysis and the original unaltered photo. Furthermore, Cole continued, the email containing this fabricated evidence was sent from a computer in the resort's business center. Security footage shows Mr. Cross using that computer at the exact timestamp the email was sent. Ethan stood abruptly. "This is a witch hunt. You're manufacturing evidence to protect your reputation and justify promoting your—" "Choose your next words very carefully," the board chair warned. "Mr. Whitmore, do you have a personal relationship with Miss Brooks?" Cole's jaw tightened. Ava held her breath. "I have professional respect for Ms. Brooks' work," Cole said carefully. "We encountered each other at a family wedding 2 weeks ago. We're distantly related through marriage. Since then, we've had dinner once, in a public restaurant, with her 5-year-old daughter present. I would characterize that as friendly colleague interaction, not a romantic relationship." It was technically true while being completely misleading. Ava appreciated the careful wordplay even as her stomach churned. "However," Cole added, and Ava's heart stopped, "I want to be transparent with this board. I am interested in pursuing a relationship with Ms. Brooks. I find her intelligent, compelling, and someone I'd like to know better outside of professional context. But that interest developed after her promotion was already approved and documented. It has not and will not influence any business decisions. And if the board feels my personal interest creates a conflict, I'm prepared to recuse myself from any decisions involving Miss Brooks' career advancement." The silence that followed was deafening. Ava couldn't breathe. Cole had just admitted his interest in front of the entire board, putting his own reputation on the line to defend her credibility. "That's refreshingly honest," the board chair said finally, "and appreciated. However, it does raise questions about optics and potential policy violations. I understand, which is why I've prepared a proposed addendum to our workplace relationship policy." Cole advanced to another slide. "Clear disclosure requirements, recusal protocols, and zero tolerance for retaliation against employees who choose to report relationships. We should have had this in place years ago." One of the board members, a woman Ava recognized from industry conferences, spoke up. "Mr. Whitmore, your transparency is commendable, but I'm more concerned about Mr. Cross's behavior. If even half of this evidence is accurate, we're looking at potential discrimination claims, hostile work environment issues, and serious liability for the company. That's my primary concern, Cole agreed. Mr. Cross's actions have put this company at legal risk and have damaged the careers of talented employees. That's unacceptable, regardless of any other factors. The board deliberated for another hour. Ava sat through testimony from Victoria, from Marcus, from a former employee who'd left the company after being blocked for promotion repeatedly. The evidence piled up, undeniable and devastating. Finally, the board chair spoke. We've heard enough. Mr. Cross, effective immediately, you are suspended pending a full investigation. You will surrender your company credentials and vacate your office by end of business Monday. Ms. Brooks, we apologize for the harassment you've endured and want to assure you that your promotion stands. Your qualifications are clearly documented and speak for themselves. Ethan stood, his face contorted with rage. This is discrimination. You're destroying my career over unfounded allegations, and the allegations are documented with time-stamped evidence, the board chair interrupted. We take these matters very seriously. You'll receive formal notification of our investigation process by Monday morning. This meeting is adjourned. The screens went dark. Ethan grabbed his briefcase and stormed out without looking at anyone. The conference room emptied slowly, executives murmuring among themselves. Cole crossed to where Ava sat, his expression unreadable. Are you okay? He asked quietly. Ava stood on legs that shook slightly. You told them about being interested in me in front of the board. I did. That was incredibly risky. If they'd sided with Ethan, they wouldn't have. The evidence was too strong. Cole's voice dropped lower. But even if there was a chance they might, I wasn't going to lie about how I feel. Not to protect my reputation. Not when you've been honest and vulnerable about your own feelings. Cole, Ava's voice broke. I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything. Just let me drive you back to your room. It's late and you've been through hell tonight. They walked through the quiet resort grounds in silence. The retreat felt surreal now. What was supposed to be team building had become a battleground. Ava's mind raced with implications, trying to process everything that had happened in the span of a few hours. When they reached her door, Cole stopped. For what it's worth, he said, I'm sorry tonight went the way it did. You deserved better than having your promotion questioned and your reputation attacked. It's not your fault. Maybe not, but I still hate that you had to go through it. Ava looked up at him, this man who'd defended her without hesitation, who'd risked his own standing to protect her credibility, who looked at her like she was worth fighting for. Come in, she said. Just for a few minutes, we should talk. Cole hesitated. Ava, if anyone sees, I don't care anymore. And she realized it was true. The board knows you're interested. Half the company already thinks we're involved. The cat's out of the bag. So come in and let's actually talk without worrying about who's watching. He followed her inside. The room was standard resort fare, queen bed, small desk, chair by the window. Ava sat on the edge of the bed, suddenly exhausted. Cole took the chair, maintaining careful distance, even in private. I need to tell you something, Ava said, about Zoe's father. Cole's expression shifted to careful attention. Okay. His name was Marcus. Different Marcus, obviously. We met in grad school. He was charming and ambitious, and I thought we had a future. When I got pregnant, he said all the right things at first. Then reality set in. The late nights, the crying, the loss of freedom. He started resenting me. Resenting Zoe before she was even born. Ava's hands twisted in her lap. He gave me an ultimatum, terminate the pregnancy or he was gone. I chose Zoe. He chose his career, signed away his rights, and walked away without looking back. I'm sorry, Cole said quietly. That must have been devastating. It was, but it also taught me something important. I learned that I couldn't trust men who said what I wanted to hear, that promises meant nothing if they weren't backed by action, that I had to be careful about who I let into Zoe's life because she's already lost one parent, she can't lose another. That's why you've been so cautious. That's why I've been terrified, Ava corrected. Because Cole, I like you. More than I've liked anyone in years. And that scares me more than Ethan's threats or career sabotage or anything else. Because if I let myself fall for you and you leave, If you decide being with a single mom is too complicated, or the scrutiny is too much, or you just get bored, it won't just break my heart. It'll break Zoe's too. And I can't do that to her. Cole was quiet for a long moment. Then he stood and crossed to kneel in front of her, his hands resting gently on her knees. I can't promise I'll never make mistakes, he said. I can't promise this will be easy, or that people won't judge, or that there won't be complications. But Ava, I can promise you this. I don't do halfway. I don't invest in people casually, and I would never, ever involve myself in Zoe's life if I wasn't prepared to be consistent and present. How can you know that? We've known each other for 2 weeks. I've watched you for over a year, Cole reminded her. I've seen how you work, how you fight, how you love your daughter. I didn't fall for a stranger at a wedding, Ava. I fell for someone I already respected and admired. The wedding just gave me permission to see you as more than an employee. Ava's breath caught. Fell for? Yes. No hesitation. I'm falling for you. Have been since I watched you defend a debut author in a staff meeting 6 months ago with such passion that everyone else in the room shut up and listened. Since I read your editorial notes on a manuscript and realized you don't just acquire books, you nurture them. Since I saw you with Zoe and understood that your strength isn't despite being a single mother, it's because of it. Tears tracked down Ava's cheeks. That's not fair. You can't just say things like that. Why not? It's true. Because it makes me want to believe you, and I've been hurt before by wanting to believe. Cole's thumbs brushed away her tears. Then don't believe my words. Watch my actions. I'll prove it to you. Day by day, choice by choice. I'll show you that I'm not him, that I'm here for the long haul, that you and Zoe are worth every complication. Ava leaned forward until her forehead rested against his. What if I'm not ready yet? What if I need time? Then we take time. No pressure, no expectations. We go at whatever pace feels right to you. And if the board decides we can't, then I'll recuse myself from decisions about your career, like I said. Or if necessary, I'll help you find a position at another house where there's no conflict. Your career matters, Ava. I won't let our relationship damage it. That's what I mean about not being fair, Ava whispered. You keep saying exactly what I need to hear. Because I mean it. Cole pulled back slightly, his blue eyes intense in the dim room. Ask me anything. Test me. Push back. I'll give you honesty every time. Ava thought about the question that had been haunting her since the coffee shop. The college bet, she said. The email mentioned it. What was that about? Cole's expression darkened. My junior year, my roommate and I made a stupid, immature bet about who could date the most impressive woman. It lasted exactly 1 semester before I realized how gross it was and backed out. I was 20 years old and an idiot. That bet has nothing to do with you or with how I feel now. But the email said, the email was Ethan weaponizing my past mistakes to create doubt. Cole's voice was firm. That bet happened over a decade ago with women I dated briefly in college. It has zero connection to you, but if you need proof, I can show you the timeline. The bet ended in December of my junior year. I haven't participated in anything like that since because I'm not that person anymore. Ava studied his face, looking for deception, found only steady honesty. Okay, she said finally. I believe you. Just like that? You've earned some trust. Don't make me regret it. Cole's smile was small but genuine. I won't. They sat in comfortable silence, the weight of the evening finally settling. Ava was exhausted, emotionally wrung out and physically drained. But underneath the exhaustion was something else, something that felt suspiciously like hope. I should let you sleep, Cole said, starting to stand. Ava's hand caught his. Stay. Just for a little while. I don't want to be alone right now. He searched her face, then nodded. They moved to sit against the headboard, shoulders touching, hands intertwined. Ava rested her head on his shoulder and felt some of the tension drain from her body. Thank you, she said quietly, for fighting for me tonight, for not backing down. Always, Cole promised, for as long as you'll let me. Ava's phone buzzed. She groaned, expecting another crisis. But it was just a text from her mother. Mom, Zoe's asleep. She made me promise to tell you she loves you, and she hopes your work trip is fun. Also, she wants pancakes tomorrow shaped like dragons. Just FYI. Despite everything, Ava smiled. Zoe wants dragon pancakes tomorrow. That's very specific. She's a very specific kid. Ava showed him the text. My mom's watching her this weekend. Zoe's probably driving her crazy with requests. She sounds wonderful. She is. Exhausting and wonderful and the best thing that ever happened to me. Ava's voice softened. I need you to understand something, Cole. Zoe comes first. Always. If there's ever a choice between her needs and our relationship, she wins. Every time. I need to know you're okay with that. I wouldn't want it any other way, Cole said simply. A mother who doesn't put her child first isn't someone I'd want to be with. Your priorities are exactly right. Ava turned to look at him, really look at him. The shadows under his eyes from a stressful evening, the careful way he held himself even now, giving her space and control. The absolute sincerity in his expression. I'm going to trust you, she said. I'm terrified and it feels like jumping off a cliff, but I'm going to do it. We take this slow, we're honest with each other, and we protect Zoe above everything else. Deal? Deal. Cole lifted their joined hands and pressed a kiss to her knuckles. Thank you for taking the risk. They stayed like that for another hour, talking quietly about everything and nothing. Cole told her about growing up with pressure to take over the family business, about his relationship with his sister, about the piano lessons he'd hated as a kid and now missed. Ava shared stories about Zoe's elaborate imaginary games, about her own parents' quiet support through single motherhood, about the manuscript she was reading that made her cry in the best way. Eventually, exhaustion won. Ava's eyes drifted closed, her head still on Cole's shoulder. She felt him shift carefully, heard him whisper goodnight, felt the ghost of a kiss on her forehead. When she woke hours later, dawn light filtering through the curtains, she was tucked under the covers, fully clothed. A note on the nightstand read, Didn't want to wake you. Thank you for trusting me with the truth. Coffee when you're ready? See. Ava pressed the note to her chest and let herself smile. Maybe, just maybe, this was going to work. The retreat's final day was surreal. News of Ethan's suspension had spread through the executive team, and Ava found herself the subject of sympathetic looks and quiet congratulations. Victoria pulled her aside during the morning break. I owe you an apology, Victoria said. I warned you to keep your distance because I was trying to protect you. But I should have been fighting to change a system that punishes women for existing while ambitious. I'm sorry. You were trying to help, Ava said. I understand that. Still, you deserved better. Victoria smiled slightly. For what it's worth, I think you and Whitmore might actually work. He looks at you like you're the only person in the room. That's rare. The comment stayed with Ava through the final presentations and the closing dinner. She caught Cole's eye across the conference table more than once, saw the warmth there, and felt something in her chest ease. On the drive back to the city Sunday evening, Ava's phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Miss Brooks? An unfamiliar voice, professional and crisp. This is Jennifer Walsh from Hartley & Associates. We're a legal firm representing several former Ashford Crane employees. We understand you've recently been involved in a situation with Ethan Cross. Ava's grip tightened on the steering wheel. I'm not sure I should be talking to you without... We're not looking to cause you problems. Actually, we'd like to help. We're building a case against Mr. Cross for a pattern of discrimination and harassment. Your testimony could be valuable, but more importantly, we wanted you to know you're not alone. There are at least 7 other women who've experienced similar treatment. If you're interested in joining the suit, we'd like to talk. Ava pulled over, her hands shaking. 7 others? At least. We're still investigating, but Ms. Brooks, what happened to you? The blocked promotions, the stolen credit, the retaliation? It's part of a much larger pattern, and we think we can stop it from happening to anyone else. I need to think about this. Of course, I'll email you our information. Take your time, but know that you have options and support. The call ended. Ava sat in her parked car, processing. 7 other women. 7 other careers damaged or destroyed by one man's insecurity and prejudice. She called Cole. Hey, he answered immediately. Everything okay? I just got a call from a lawyer. There's a potential lawsuit against Ethan. 7 other women with similar experiences. Cole was quiet for a beat. What do you want to do? I don't know. Part of me wants to just move on, put this behind me. But part of me thinks about those 7 women and how they probably felt the same way I did, invisible, blocked, like they were going crazy. Whatever you decide, I support it, Cole said. But Ava, you have power now. You survived what he tried to do to you. You have a platform. If you want to use it to help others, that's incredibly brave. It's also incredibly exhausting to think about. Then don't decide tonight. Take your time. Talk to the lawyers. See what's involved. Make an informed choice. Ava breathed out slowly. Okay, I can do that. And Ava, I'm proud of you for fighting back, for standing up for yourself, for being strong enough to consider helping others even after what you've been through. The words wrapped around her like a warm blanket. Thank you. Anytime, drive safe, text me when you're home. I will. Ava picked up Zoe from her parents' house an hour later. Her daughter launched into an elaborate story about the zoo and the penguins and how Grandma made the dragon pancakes, but they didn't look quite right, so Zoe had to explain the proper dragon anatomy. Sounds like you had a great weekend, Ava said, buckling her in. The best. Did you have fun at your work trip? Ava thought about the board meeting, the confrontation with Ethan, the hours spent talking with Cole, the lawyer's phone call. It was eventful, she said, but I'm glad to be home with you. Me too, Mama. I missed you. I missed you too, baby. That night, after Zoe was asleep, Ava sat on her couch with a glass of wine and her laptop. She pulled up the email from Jennifer Walsh and read through the case details carefully. The pattern was damning. Women of color systematically blocked from advancement, their work stolen, their contributions minimized. Some had left the company entirely. Others had stayed and struggled. Ava thought about the younger version of herself, freshly graduated and hopeful, who'd walked into Ashford Crane believing hard work and talent would be enough. She thought about all the times she'd questioned herself, wondered if she really was good enough, if maybe everyone else was right, and she was overreaching. She thought about Zoe growing up in a world where men like Ethan could destroy careers without consequence. And she made her decision. Ava, Ms. Walsh, I'm interested in learning more about the lawsuit. Let's schedule a call. She hit send before she could second-guess herself. Then she texted Cole. Ava, I'm doing it. Joining the lawsuit. I'm terrified, but I'm doing it. His response came immediately. Cole, I'm proud of you. And I'm here, whatever you need. Ava set her phone aside and finished her wine, feeling the weight of her choice settle over her shoulders. It wouldn't be easy. There would be more scrutiny, more gossip, more people questioning her motives. But for the first time in years, Ava Brooks wasn't making decisions based on fear. She was making them based on the woman she wanted Zoe to see when she looked at her mother, and that woman didn't back down from fights that mattered. The following weeks moved like a freight train, unstoppable and sometimes overwhelming. The lawsuit became public knowledge within the publishing industry, and Ava found herself at the center of a story much bigger than her individual experience. Trade publications ran articles. Industry blogs dissected the allegations. Her inbox flooded with messages from women across publishing sharing their own stories of discrimination and stolen credit. You're becoming a symbol, Tasha observed over coffee 3 weeks after the retreat. How does that feel? Exhausting, Ava admitted. I just wanted to do good work and advance my career. I didn't sign up to be the face of systemic discrimination in publishing. But you are. And you're handling it with grace. Tasha squeezed her hand. How's Zoe dealing with all the changes? She knows Mama has a new job with more responsibility. She knows there are some grown-up problems at work that Mama's helping to fix. Beyond that, I'm trying to keep her childhood normal. Ava smiled despite her exhaustion. Last night she asked if my work problems involved dragons. When I said no, she seemed disappointed. Smart kid. Everything's better with dragons. What Ava didn't tell Tasha was how much Cole had become her anchor through the chaos. He showed up consistently, not with grand gestures, but with steady presence. Text messages checking in during difficult days. Coffee delivered to her office during marathon manuscript review sessions. A listening ear when she needed to vent about depositions and legal strategy. And crucially, he'd kept his promise about Zoe. When Ava mentioned she was struggling to find childcare for a Saturday deposition, Cole had offered to watch Zoe himself, then spent the entire day at a children's museum, letting her 5-year-old lead elaborate educational adventures. He'd sent Ava photos throughout the day. Zoe examining dinosaur bones with intense concentration, both of them covered in paint from an art workshop, Zoe asleep on his shoulder during the drive home. She asked if you were my boyfriend, Ava had told him that evening after Zoe was in bed. What did you tell her? That you're someone special to both of us. That we're seeing if maybe you could be part of our family someday. Cole had been quiet on the other end of the phone. How did she react? She said you make good pancakes and you're tall enough to reach the high cabinets, so you seem useful. Then she asked if you could teach her the magic trick with the disappearing coin. That's Zoe speak for approval, right? That's enthusiastic endorsement. Don't let it go to your head. But Ava could hear the smile in his voice when he said, too late. The lawsuit gained momentum. Jennifer Walsh proved to be a fierce advocate, building an ironclad case with testimony from 9 women, Ava included, whose careers had been damaged by Ethan's systematic discrimination. The documentation was damning. Patterns of blocked promotions, stolen credit consistently redirected to male colleagues, performance reviews that changed dramatically after employees complained or pushed back. Ashford Crane's board made the strategic decision to settle rather than go to trial. Ethan Cross was terminated with no severance, banned from holding leadership positions within the company, and required to issue formal apologies to each plaintiff. The company implemented mandatory bias training, created an independent HR oversight committee, and established a fund for advancing diverse talent in publishing. It's not perfect, Jennifer told Ava during their final meeting, but it's progress. And you made that happen by being willing to speak up. We all made it happen, Ava corrected. 9 women who decided enough was enough. True, but you were the one with the most to lose. Executive position, visible profile, a CEO who cared about you personally. You could have stayed quiet and protected your career. Instead, you chose to fight. Jennifer smiled. That took courage. Ava thought about that conversation later, sitting in her office reviewing a manuscript. Her office felt different now, earned, unquestionable. The nameplate outside wasn't just a title. It was a statement. She belonged here. She'd proven it through her work and her willingness to stand up for what was right. Knock, knock. Ava looked up to find Cole in her doorway, jacket slung over his shoulder, tie loosened. He looked tired, but pleased. The settlement's finalized, he said. Legal just sent the confirmation. It's over. It's over, Ava repeated, letting the words sink in. Months of stress, depositions, media attention, and scrutiny finally concluded. How do you feel? Relieved, proud of how the company responded. Sorry, it took a lawsuit to force necessary changes. Cole moved into the office, closing the door part way. How do you feel? Like I can breathe for the first time in weeks. Ava stood, crossing to where he waited. Thank you. For supporting the settlement. For implementing real policy changes. For not trying to sweep this under the rug to protect the company's image. I told you once that I don't do halfway. That applies to systemic change, too. His hand found hers, fingers intertwining in the familiar gesture that had become their private shorthand for connection. You changed this company, Ava. Made it better. That matters. We changed it. Together. They stood in comfortable silence, the evening sun casting long shadows across her office. 6 months ago, Ava had been invisible. Talented, but overlooked. Working herself to exhaustion for recognition that never came. Now she stood in her own office, with her name on the door and her voice heard in executive meetings, beside a man who saw her completely and chose to stand with her anyway. Zoe's 6th birthday is next weekend, Ava said, changing the subject to something lighter. She's decided she wants a dragon-themed party at the park with exactly 17 children. That's every kid in her kindergarten class. She was very specific, and she's informed me you're invited. I'm honored. Do I need to bring a dragon costume? Absolutely not. But you should probably prepare for face paint and elaborate games involving rescuing stuffed animals from imaginary towers. Cole's expression softened in that way it did whenever Ava mentioned her daughter. I can handle that. Does this mean I'm officially part of the family now? Birthday party invitations seem significant. Ava's heart stuttered. They'd been building toward this conversation for weeks. The acknowledgement that what they had was real and serious and worth defining. Zoe asked me last night if you were going to stay, Ava said quietly. She said her friend Emma's mom has a boyfriend who comes to some things but not everything, and she wanted to know if you were that kind of person or the staying kind. What did you tell her? That I didn't know for sure, but I thought maybe you were the staying kind. And that scared me because we've both been left before, and I couldn't promise it wouldn't happen again. Ava's throat tightened. She said that was okay because being scared doesn't mean you can't be brave. Then she went back to coloring like she hadn't just articulated my entire emotional conflict in one sentence. Cole pulled her closer, his free hand coming up to cup her face. Your daughter is wise beyond her years. She gets it from me, Ava said with a watery laugh. She gets it from watching you be brave every single day. Cole's thumb brushed across her cheekbone. Ava, I need you to hear this. I'm the staying kind. I don't know what the future holds or how to navigate every complication that comes with building a life together. But I know I want to try. I want Saturday morning pancakes and dragon birthday parties and helping with kindergarten homework. I want the messy, complicated, beautiful reality of being part of your family. That's a big commitment. It's the only kind worth making. Ava searched his face, looking for doubt or hesitation, found only steady certainty and something that looked a lot like love. Okay, she whispered. Let's try. Let's build something real. Cole kissed her then, soft and thorough, full of promise and possibility. It was their first real kiss, 6 months of tension and connection, finally breaking through careful professional boundaries. Ava melted into it, letting herself have this moment of pure want without fear or calculation. When they finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, Cole rested his forehead against hers. I've wanted to do that since the wedding, he admitted. Liar. You wanted to do that before the wedding. I saw the way you looked at me during that staff meeting 6 months ago. Guilty. You were defending an author with such fierce intelligence that I forgot what I was supposed to be discussing. So, you've been planning this seduction for half a year? I prefer to call it a strategic long-term investment in getting to know an exceptional woman. Cole grinned. How am I doing so far? Surprisingly well. Don't let it go to your head. They left the office together that evening, no longer bothering to maintain careful distance or stagger their departures. The gossip would happen regardless. Might as well own the truth of their relationship. Marcus Wolf whistled as they passed his cubicle, earning himself a middle finger from Ava and a laugh from Cole. The weeks leading up to Zoe's birthday party were full of planning and preparation. Ava found herself in the surreal position of coordinating with Cole about dragon decorations and cake flavors, watching him engage with the logistics of a 6-year-old's party with the same attention he brought to board meetings. I've created a spreadsheet, he announced one evening, showing up at her apartment with takeout and his laptop. Activities organized by age appropriateness, timing, and probability of injury. I've also researched age-appropriate games that incorporate the dragon theme. Ava stared at him. You made a spreadsheet for a kindergarten birthday party. I make spreadsheets for everything. It's how I process information. That's the nerdiest thing I've ever heard. You say that like it's a bad thing. Cole opened containers of Thai food, the familiar routine of their evenings together. Zoe deserves a well-organized party. Plus, if I'm going to be involved in the family, I should probably learn how to handle these events. The casual way he said, involved in the family, made Ava's chest tight with emotion. Cole wasn't auditioning for the role of boyfriend or testing out being with a single mom. He was all in, spreadsheets and dragon-themed games and complicated logistics included. Thank you, she said softly, for caring about this, about her. Ava, she's part of you. How could I not care? He handed her a fork and smiled. Besides, I genuinely like Zoe. She's funny and smart and completely herself. Those are excellent qualities in a person, regardless of age. Zoe wandered in from her bedroom, dragging her stuffed dragon. Is Cole staying for dinner? If that's okay with you, Cole said. It's okay. Can you help me with my spelling homework after? Mama tries, but she gets the letters wrong sometimes. I do not get the letters wrong, Ava protested. I just have creative interpretations of phonics. Zoe rolled her eyes with impressive 6-year-old disdain. Mama, that's not how spelling works. Cole hid his laugh poorly. I'd be happy to help with homework. What are we spelling? Animal names. I already did dragon because that's easy, but butterfly is hard. They spent the evening in comfortable domesticity, homework at the kitchen table, dinner with Zoe's enthusiastic commentary about school drama, bath time negotiations that Cole observed with amused fascination. When Zoe finally went to bed, she gave Cole a fierce hug. "Good night, Magic Man," she said, using the nickname she'd given him after the chocolate fountain incident. "See you tomorrow." "See you tomorrow," Cole confirmed. After Zoe was asleep, Cole and Ava sat on the couch, his arm around her shoulders, both of them exhausted and content. "She called you Magic Man," Ava observed. "It's better than Mr. Whitmore. Very formal for a 6-year-old. "Cole." Ava shifted to look at him. "She's getting attached, really attached. If this doesn't work out, it's going to work out," Cole interrupted gently. "I know you're scared. I know you've been hurt. But Ava, I'm not going anywhere. I'm here for the long haul, for both of you." "How can you be so sure?" "Because I've never felt like this before. Like coming to your apartment and helping with spelling homework is the best part of my day. Like watching you navigate impossible situations with grace and strength makes me want to be better. Like the idea of a future without you and Zoe in it feels fundamentally wrong." Ava's eyes filled with tears. "That's really unfair. You can't just say things like that." "Why not? It's true." "Because it makes me want to believe you. And wanting to believe is terrifying." Cole pulled her closer, pressing a kiss to her temple. "Then be terrified. I'll be here while you work through it, however long it takes." The night before Zoe's birthday party, Ava couldn't sleep. She lay in bed staring at the ceiling, mind racing with logistics and deeper worries. The party would be fine. Cole's spreadsheet had covered every possible contingency. But what came after? How did they navigate the reality of building a life together when the stakes included a child's heart? Her phone lit up with a text. "Cole. Can't sleep either. Want to talk?" "Ava. How did you know I was awake?" "Cole. Because you're lying there, catastrophizing about everything that could go wrong. I know you." "Ava. Creepy but accurate." "Cole. Come to your front door." Ava frowned, padding quietly through the apartment. She opened the door to find Cole standing in the hallway, wearing sweatpants and a t-shirt, holding 2 cups of tea. "What are you doing here?" she whispered. "It's midnight." "Couldn't sleep. Figured you couldn't either. Thought maybe we could not sleep together." He offered her one of the cups. Chamomile. Very calming. Ava accepted the tea, shaking her head in disbelief. "You drove 40 minutes at midnight to bring me tea?" "I drove 40 minutes because the woman I love was probably spiraling about tomorrow, and I wanted to be here. The tea was just a bonus." Ava froze. "What did you just say?" Cole set his cup down carefully. "I love you. I'm in love with you. I've been falling since the wedding, and I hit terminal velocity somewhere around the time you told off Ethan in that conference room. I was going to wait to say it, pick the perfect moment, but it's midnight before your daughter's birthday party, and you're catastrophizing in the dark, and I can't not tell you anymore." "Cole," her voice broke. "That's too much, too soon. I know. But Ava, you asked me to be honest, so I'm being honest. I love you. I love Zoe. I love the life we're building, and I need you to know that before tomorrow, before the party, and the inevitable chaos, before anything else happens." Ava set down her own cup and grabbed his shirt, pulling him into her apartment and kissing him hard. Cole made a surprised sound against her mouth before kissing her back with equal intensity, hands finding her waist, her hair, her face. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Ava whispered, "I love you too. I've been trying not to because it's terrifying and complicated and I don't know how to do this. But I do. I love you." Cole's smile was incandescent. "Yeah? Yeah. You showed up at midnight with tea because you knew I couldn't sleep. You made a spreadsheet for a 6-year-old's birthday party. You learned to make dragon pancakes from YouTube. How could I not love you?" They spent the rest of the night curled up on her couch, talking about everything and nothing, making plans for the future in tentative, hopeful terms. Ava fell asleep against his chest sometime around 3 a.m., feeling safer and more certain than she had in years. The birthday party was controlled chaos. 17 kindergartners descended on the park with the energy of a small hurricane, armed with dragon wings and face paint, and an enthusiasm for treasure hunts that bordered on feral. Cole proved surprisingly adept at managing crowd control, organizing games with the efficiency of a military operation while maintaining the fun chaos that made 6-year-olds happy. Ava watched him orchestrate a dragon egg hunt, explaining rules to kids who were already running off, and felt her heart swell with affection and gratitude. "Your boyfriend's pretty good at this," Tasha observed, appearing beside her with juice boxes. "Like, weirdly good. Does he have secret children we don't know about?" "Nephews. Twin terrors, who apparently prepared him for kindergarten warfare." "Well, he's passing the test. Zoe hasn't stopped smiling all day." It was true. Zoe was radiant, surrounded by friends, covered in glitter from face paint, wearing her dragon crown with regal pride. And every few minutes, she'd look over to where Cole was helping smaller kids reach the monkey bars, or Ava was distributing snacks, as if checking that her family was still there, still present, still solid. During cake time, Zoe stood on a bench and made an announcement. "I want to say thank you to everyone for coming to my party." Her voice was small but determined. "And I want to say thank you to my mama for being the best mama in the whole world. And thank you to Cole for helping, and for being here, and for being nice to my mama and me." Cole's eyes met Ava's across the crowd of children, and the look they shared was full of promise and possibility. After the party, after the cleanup, and the goodbye hugs, and the exhausted drive home, Zoe fell asleep in the car, clutching her new stuffed dragon. Cole carried her upstairs while Ava gathered discarded party supplies, and together they tucked her into bed. "Best birthday ever," Zoe mumbled, already half asleep. "Can we do it again tomorrow?" "Next year," Ava promised, kissing her forehead. "Sleep well, baby." "Love you, Mama." "Love you too, Magic Man." Cole's hand found Ava's in the darkness. "Love you too, Dragon Princess." They retreated to the living room, both exhausted and happy. Cole pulled Ava into his arms, and they swayed together without music, just the quiet comfort of being together after a long, beautiful day. "Thank you," Ava said. "For today. For all of this. Thank you for letting me be part of it." Cole pressed a kiss to her hair. "I meant what I said last night. About loving you. About wanting to build a future. I know we still have things to figure out. Logistics and boundaries, and how to navigate being together while working together. But Ava, I've never been more sure of anything." "Me neither." Ava pulled back to look at him. "Which is terrifying and wonderful, and I still can't quite believe this is real. It's real, we're real, and we're going to make it work." 6 months later, Ava stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows of Cole's apartment, their apartment now, a compromise between his spacious Manhattan penthouse and her modest Queens walk-up. They'd moved in together a month ago, a careful negotiation involving Zoe's needs, school districts, and family proximity. The apartment was still finding its identity, mixing Cole's minimalist aesthetic with Ava's warm clutter and Zoe's explosion of dragons and art projects. "Mama," Zoe called from her bedroom. "Can Cole help me with my castle? I need someone tall." "Cole's in the kitchen," Ava called back. "Ask him yourself." She heard the patter of feet, Zoe's enthusiastic request, Cole's patient agreement. They'd developed their own relationship over the months, one built on magic tricks and homework help and elaborate imaginary games. Cole never tried to replace Zoe's absent father. He simply showed up, consistently and completely, as himself. The lawsuit settlement had been finalized months ago. Ethan Cross had issued his formal apologies and disappeared from the industry. The 9 women who'd stood together had each found their own paths forward, some at Ashford Crane, some at other houses, all of them carrying the knowledge that they'd changed the system, even if only incrementally. Ava's career had flourished, her acquisition list was strong, her authors loyal, her reputation unassailable. She'd been approached by 2 other publishers about leadership positions, but she'd chosen to stay at Ashford Crane. Not because of Cole, but because the company had actually changed. The culture was shifting. Women were being promoted. Voices were being heard. And yes, because working in the same building as Cole meant stolen moments in elevators and coffee deliveries, and the occasional knowing look across conference tables that made her heart race. "We're going for a walk," Zoe announced, emerging from her bedroom in her dragon hoodie. "Cole says we can get ice cream if we're good. It's October," Ava pointed out. "Ice cream is for all seasons," Cole countered, appearing behind Zoe. "Basic principle of dessert." Can't argue with that logic. They walked through Central Park in the fading afternoon light, Zoe between them, holding both their hands and chattering about school. Other families moved around them in the Sunday afternoon crowd, diverse configurations of love and commitment that looked nothing like the traditional nuclear family, but were no less real. Cole caught Ava's eye over Zoe's head and smiled, and Ava felt the last of her fear dissolve. This was her family now, chosen and fought for and built on honesty and consistency and love. When they reached their favorite ice cream stand, Cole lifted Zoe so she could see all the flavors. She deliberated with intense focus before selecting dragon fruit sorbet, which seemed thematically appropriate. "Mama, you should get the same as me," Zoe suggested. "And Cole should get chocolate. Then we can all share." They sat on a bench overlooking the lake, sharing ice cream and watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. Zoe leaned against Ava's side, completely content, occasionally stealing bites from Cole's chocolate. "This is nice," Zoe announced. "I like our family." "Me too, baby," Ava said, her throat tight with emotion. "Me three," Cole added quietly. Later that evening, after Zoe was asleep and they'd cleaned up the dinner dishes, Cole pulled Ava onto the terrace. The city sprawled before them, lights glittering like earthbound stars. "I have something for you," he said, suddenly nervous in a way Ava had never seen before. "Okay?" Ava's heart started racing. Cole reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. "Before you panic, this isn't what you think." "Well, it is what you think, but not right now. Just let me explain." Ava's hands flew to her mouth. "I bought this 3 months ago," Cole continued, opening the box to reveal a stunning ring, simple and elegant, a single diamond on a platinum band. "I've been carrying it around, waiting for the perfect moment. But I realized there is no perfect moment. There's just us, building a life together, figuring it out day by day. Cole, I'm not asking you to marry me tonight. I know we need to take our time, make sure Zoe's comfortable with the idea, figure out all the logistics. But I wanted you to know that I'm serious, that when you're ready, when we're all ready, I want to marry you. I want to be Zoe's stepfather officially. I want the messy, complicated, beautiful reality of being a family legally and permanently." Tears streamed down Ava's face. "You're insane." "Probably. Is that a yes to someday?" "That's a yes to someday." Ava cupped his face, thumbs brushing away his own tears. "I love you so much, and when the time is right, when Zoe's ready and we've navigated all the complicated parts, I will absolutely marry you." Cole kissed her thoroughly, the ring box forgotten between them, the city lights sparkling around them like blessing. 3 years later, Ava stood in a small garden venue surrounded by friends and family, wearing a dress the color of cream and holding a bouquet of wildflowers. Zoe stood beside her in a purple dress, holding the rings and taking her role as maid of honor with utmost seriousness. "You ready?" Zoe whispered. "So ready," Ava whispered back. The music started, and they walked together down the aisle, mother and daughter, hand in hand, toward the man who'd proven through 3 years of consistent presence that love didn't have to be a risk. It could be a choice, made daily, with intention and commitment and joy. Cole stood at the altar with tears in his eyes, flanked by his sister and his twin nephews who were doing their best to stand still. When Ava and Zoe reached him, he knelt down first to Zoe's level. "Thank you for sharing your mama with me," he said seriously, "and for letting me be part of your family." "You're welcome," Zoe said with equal gravity. "But you have to promise to always make dragon pancakes and help with the hard homework." "I promise." Zoe nodded, satisfied, and took her place beside Tasha. Cole stood, taking Ava's hands, and for a moment the entire world narrowed to just the two of them. The ceremony was simple and heartfelt. They'd written their own vows, promising partnership and honesty, laughter and patience, showing up for each other through the beautiful and the difficult. When the officiant pronounced them married, Cole kissed Ava like she was the answer to every question he'd ever asked. The reception was full of joy and dancing and speeches that made everyone cry and laugh. Ava's parents welcomed Cole officially into the family. His mother cornered Ava and told her she was the best thing that had ever happened to her son. Marcus gave a toast about how love finds you when you stop hiding from it. But the best moment came late in the evening, when Zoe tugged on Cole's sleeve. "Can I call you Dad now?" she asked. "Since you're married to Mama and you live with us, And you do all the dad stuff anyway? Cole's face crumpled with emotion. He looked at Ava, who nodded through her own tears, then back at Zoe. I would be honored, he said, his voice thick, if that's what you want. It's what I want. Zoe threw her arms around his neck. I love you, Dad. I love you too, Dragon Princess. Ava watched her husband and her daughter embrace, surrounded by the family they'd built from courage and consistency and choice, and felt complete in a way she'd never thought possible. She'd spent so many years believing she had to do everything alone, that asking for help was weakness, that wanting partnership meant she wasn't strong enough on her own. But standing here, in this moment, Ava understood the truth she'd been running from for so long. Strength wasn't about doing everything yourself. It was about knowing when to accept support, when to trust someone else to share the weight, when to believe that you deserved love, not despite your circumstances, but because of the incredible person you'd become while navigating them. Cole appeared at her side, Zoe having run off to dance with her cousins. What are you thinking about? He asked, pulling her into his arms. That I'm glad I was brave enough to say yes to coffee, Ava said. To the promotion, to trusting you, to building this life. All of it. Best decision you ever made, Cole teased. Second best. The first was keeping Zoe. Fair point. He spun her gently on the dance floor. I have a confession. Oh no. I knew the promotion paperwork was ready before the wedding, but when I saw you there in that emerald dress, looking beautiful and sad and like you were trying to be invisible, I made a choice. I could maintain professional distance and never know you beyond your work. Or I could take a chance. See if maybe the woman who'd impressed me for a year was even more remarkable in person. You manipulated fate, Ava accused without heat. I created an opportunity. There's a difference. And if I'd rejected you, told you to leave me alone, then I would have respected that and stepped back. Your choice always mattered most. Cole's expression turned serious. But I'm really glad you chose me back. Me too, Ava whispered. They danced as the night stretched toward morning, surrounded by the people who mattered most, building a future from the rubble of everything that had tried to break them. Ava looked around at her family, chosen and biological, complicated and perfect, and felt the deep satisfaction of having fought for something real and won. Years later, when people asked how she'd built her career, navigated single motherhood, and found love, Ava would think back to this moment, to the choice she'd made at a wedding to say yes to coffee, to the courage it took to fight for her worth, to the leap of faith required to trust that some people actually meant their promises. And she'd tell them the truth, that she'd stopped making herself smaller to fit other people's expectations, that she'd demanded to be seen for who she actually was, talented, complicated, worthy of love and respect and partnership, that she'd refused to let fear or gossip or systemic discrimination determine her worth. But mostly, she'd tell them about the man who'd knelt in an expensive suit to fix a chocolate stain with club soda and kindness, who'd fought for her career without being asked, who'd loved her daughter like his own from the first magic trick, who'd shown up day after day proving that some promises were actually kept. That was the story worth telling. The story of Ava Brooks, who dared to want more than she was offered and found that she deserved everything she fought for. The music swelled, Cole spun her one more time, and Ava Brooks, now Ava Whitmore, threw back her head and laughed with pure joy. She'd earned this, all of it, and she was never going to apologize for that again.